kind of started it off and then handed it off, right?
Well, I would think that, don't they should ask 3 times, I don't know.
Oh, that,
Yeah,
just to make
just to be
sure.
official.
Well, we did, Jenny is
3 times.
Yeah. 9, 3 times.
All right, we'll call the order of the meeting of the Improvement Service Committee for Wednesday, April 25th. We'll start off with roll call. Everybody logged in with their tablet?
Let me get something, right?
Still waiting for approval, right?
Yep.
That's all we gotta do is,
Actually, not gonna be.
yeah. See.
All the Weary and all the Brunette, yeah.
Yep.
What you got, Steve?
Waiting, it says Alder Weary and Alder Brunette, it says waiting.
Okay, gentlemen.
Just hand put those in and if that's the case. Did you select it?
We're in there.
Okay.
Probably click.
Okay, we got,
I'll do it again.
now we've got them, right?
Yeah, could you before that up?
Tricky when it's consecutive, yeah.
What's that?
So double for me.
Is it summer you get started, Mike? Pardon me? Summer you get started?
Is that your hometown?
What's that?
Manitowoc.
Yeah.
Okay.
I heard about a ref in high school.
Oh, yeah?
Go to high school.
Lincoln.
What year?
94?
A little younger than I am. Yeah, when I went to pro. Probably already taken.
Yep, we are there.
My senior year was the first year we had.
Football. Also there.
85.
In the 80s, yeah, when
Well, it
Don
was
Davey
fall of
played.
84, Don Davey.
So they had that 48 game winning streak that Kakana just smashed.
Yeah. We had Don Davey, he had Lonnie, well, I don't know his first name, but Heller,
Okay.
he was very good. He went to Division II ball. You had Zwicky, Division III ball. You had Don Davey, who went to Division I. Bob Brown.
So we are on
Full ride in
to
Madison didn't go.
approval of the
Where's
agenda.
your high school team?
I'd like to make a motion to place item 6 after the election of chair and vice chair.
Second that?
For the-
Andy's not on here.
Sorry.
I was gonna say,
Letter in Manitowoc Public Records.
I would
Yeah, we don't do stuff.
recommend having it follow item 2.
Yeah, I think
Oh.
I misspoke, so
Okay.
thank you.
Yeah, I'll second that.
All in favor of the amendment?
Aye.
All right.
Amendment passes unanimously. So then we'd be looking for a motion to adopt as amended.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
The agenda is adopted as amended.
The approval of the minutes.
Next would be approval of the minutes. So we'd be looking for a motion to approve the minutes of the last meeting.
So moved. Second.
Mike? Somehow we don't have,
Andy on the.
Alderman Nicholson was, we showed him logged in, but he's not showing up on the screen. Yes. And there he is. Perfect. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. New business, we will be looking for nominations for position of chair and vice chair, so I think we'll take nominations for position chair first.
Nominate Alderman Andy Nicholson as chair.
I'll accept the nomination.
Do we have a second?
You don't need a second, Steve?
Oh, thank you. Any other nominations? If there are no other nominations, all in favor?
Aye.
Congratulations, Alderman
Thank you.
Nicholson is chair
Thank you,
again, and you can take over the meeting at this point. Thank you.
Okay, we're still under new business. We need a vice chair, so I'll take nominations for vice chair.
I'll nominate Alder Johnson.
Is that just by knocking off the list, right? I would accept.
There's a nomination to have Alderman Johnson as vice chair, and Alderman Johnson accepts. Is there any other nominations? Is there any other nominations? If not, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Nays? Motion carried. Alderman Johnson's vice chair. Number 2, consideration of possible action on request by Glenn Duda.
No, Mr. Chairman.
All right. now we
Okay,
can go ahead.
Duda at 820 School Place for permission to park caregiver vehicles on street overnight. Okay, Director Grenier.
This is a request that had been brought forward by former Alder Zima. Mr. Duda has been residing at this location for about 30 years. He's in need of full-time care. Largely procedural. Again, we have the parking restriction for overnight hours. His caregivers are oftentimes there over those overnight hours. And staff recommends granting the exemption for caregiver parking on street, except for declared snow emergencies for the balance of 2018. This would be auto-renewing on an annual basis. Staff would contact to ensure that Mr. Dudas continues to live at that address. If he were to move, the exemption would automatically fall away and go back to no on-street parking between 3 and 5 a.m. But for as long as he's there, we would have the responsibility to contact him on an annual basis and just auto-renew that for him.
Any questions or concerns? If not, I'll entertain a motion.
Move to approve?
Motion by Johnson to approve, second by Worry, under discussion. Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Nays, motion carried. Number 3. Consideration of possible action on requests by Alderman Chris Worry on recycle/garbage bin storage requirements enforcement. Oh, did we do that? Okay. I apologize. Number 6. Consideration of possible action to look at what other Wisconsin communities do with respect to overnight parking bans, with potential to eliminate the overnight parking ban in the city of Green Bay. Referred Common Council, April 17, 2018. Alderman Steuer?
Thank you, Chair. Alderman Steuer, District 10. We did have a communication, and there are a few citizens in my district that have brought this forward, and I'm listening to them. So basically, Director Grenier asked me to make it a little more definitive as far as tightening up the request. So this is how I'm going to read it. To study comparisons and differences in overnight parking restrictions for the cities of Milwaukee, Madison, Green Bay, Appleton, Eau Claire, and Racine, and to produce a report that aims to seek an end to overnight parking restrictions in the city of Green Bay. So that's it. So now Director Grenier will bring that back to his department, they'll look at it, and we'll report back to this committee.
Director Grenier, you have any questions?
No,
I'm just going to work
if I could
with
get a copy of that, that would be
Alderman
awesome.
Steuer
Copy.
on this.
Thank you. So So staff would recommend refer to staff for study, and hopefully we'll have it back in 2 weeks.
Any questions or concerns from the committee?
Will the
Alderman
nature of that
Johnson.
study be restricted exclusively to the cities that were mentioned?
That's,
Comparison, I think it's a comparison. I'm looking at population size, looking at, some of the cities have a lot of roads that are they're not rectilinear, if you will. So I was trying to get a number of cities that are fairly comparable to Green Bay in terms of size. And just to see what they do in their communities. Now, granted, with snow emergencies, that's a whole nother setup. I understand that very much, but this will just compare all the elements of parking, overnight parking restrictions in these cities to Green Bay.
we're happy to study whatever you'd like. I want to make sure we're encapsulating the cities that you're interested in. That's why I asked all
I mean,
the
if
issues.
there's other cities that you'd like to look at, that's fine. I was just trying to look at comparable cities in terms of population.
No, I'm just trying to understand, I mean, the scope of what we're doing here, and obviously, if staff were to find other cities that they felt could offer reasonable examples, I mean, for the purposes to support your request, I think that those should be brought in and not have it exclusively with the cities you've mentioned.
Well, I think the reason I mentioned those cities, I mean, there are other cities too. I thought of Kenosha, La Crosse, I mean, there's other communities as well. The fact is that Director Grenier looked at this communication and just said he needed a little more clarification. So I thought bringing these cities forward would help with that. I mean, if there's some other things that could be added, if the committee wants to talk about it, that's fine. But I more or less brought that forward, and I'll leave it to staff to kind of come up with something.
Thank you.
Alderman Burnett?
Alderman Story, could you read that one more time?
Uh,
Dr. Grenier,
He's
it's
already
fine.
turned it in, so it's to study comparisons and differences in overnight parking restrictions for the cities of Milwaukee, Madison, Green Bay, Appleton, Eau Claire, and Racine, and to produce a report that aims to seek an end to overnight parking restrictions in the city of Green Bay.
Okay, through this staff work, I'm assuming they would uncover for those municipalities that have a restriction, the reason of that restriction, because this comes up from time to time. It'd be good to know why each municipality has the, whether it be an action of their council, the mayor's, direction,
It-
public work, you name it.
It does. The one thing that I do need to identify on behalf of staff's perspective, part of this motion discusses that the report aims to seek an end to the overnight parking restrictions. I do have to be upfront with the committee to let you know that it's going to be hard for me to write a report that supports that position because staff does not support that position. Staff believes that the restriction that we have is justified. So I would be happy to write a report detailing what we find, but I don't know that I can write a report that supports the position of getting rid of that restriction when staff does not support that.
I thought of that when I was writing that, but
That's kind of what I was getting at, because
Sure, okay.
at one time, when this came up my first time through, that was the reason. I actually looked into this for constituents, the same thing Alderman Story is doing. I know the police department had objections, the mayor had
Correct.
objections, so I'm hoping for a report. I appreciate your staff's position, but something that is unbiased, that we can look at it objectively, or subjectively, however you want to phrase it, so that we can really look at it. 'Cause it comes up so often. I mean, I think every council has dealt with this at one time or another.
if nothing else, it's good for information for
Sure.
the citizens as well.
Yeah,
So-
that's fine. I can support that. That's fine.
Anything else, Alderman Burnett?
Nope.
Any other concerns or questions from the committee? Basically, you're gonna have the disadvantages and advantages.
What we're going to do is we're going to
Comparison.
detail what the parking restrictions are in those communities. If we can ascertain why those communities have those restrictions,
Right.
we'll identify what the current restrictions are in the city of Green Bay and why those restrictions are there, and then it's yours.
Okay. And are you gonna present any finances towards us, such as parking ticket revenue?
Can.
Okay. I was
Do you
looking
think-
to
I don't-
Mr.
I
Pirlo
mean-
to see if we could narrow that down to overnight parking.
Well,
Sure.
just
Yeah.
kinda-
Oh, okay, yeah, we can definitely identify how
Yeah.
many tickets are.
I mean, I just want to ask the committee, do you feel that's important?
I presume there's costs associated with this as well. You're gonna have to change signage, and
Right.
so I think understanding the financial impact is probably,
Okay.
I mean, something worthwhile to know.
Okay. Alderman Worry.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I know this has been an issue, like literally every 2 years. It comes up with every council, so it's going to be a big hot topic. We're going to get a lot of calls and emails.
Yep.
So we need to take a little bit of time on this. Just looking at the timeline you presented, which was very nice. Back in 2001, Alderman Zima put in a request, then it was Mayor Schmidt, then Alderman Vanden Heuvel, then Weary, then Vanden Heuvel, then Denies, then Dwayne, then Weary, and now Stoyer. So pretty much every 2 years, it's a hot topic. And the more information, the better. Even if we can find some kind of compromise, would be great. Obviously, I put in the request twice, so I'm open to just about anything. Thanks.
Any other questions or concerns? If not, entertain a motion.
So moved.
Motion by Johnson to refer to staff,
Second.
second by Worry. Under discussion? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Nays, motion carried. We are number 3. Consideration of possible action on a request by Alderman Chris Worry on recycle garbage bin storage requirements enforcement. Alderman Worry.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I have several people for this. I don't think anybody's here tonight. Anybody here for garbage storage? No? Okay. They wanted to attend. They won't be here, so I'm going to ask to hold this item. I think more discussion needs to happen on this. I think some of our inspectors are getting a little bit overzealous in enforcing the laws. And what was explained to us, if you remember correctly, is if you stand in front of a house and you can't see the recycle bin or the garbage bin, they're good to go. And what's happening is I think some of the inspectors, and maybe this has to be training, if they can see it at all, even if they're, way off to the side, they're getting notices, and it's really riling people up. And so a combination of talking with our inspection team and maybe looking at the requirements again would be.
Well, and we support your request to hold this. Are we potentially looking at changing the ordinance, or are we looking more for a presentation on what the enforcement is, or?
Probably both.
Probably both?
I think
Okay.
so, yeah.
I'm trying to do a better job of getting prepared, so
I think
again,
both would be
I'm
fine.
asking some questions, to figure out what
Yeah.
exactly you want.
And reaffirm kind of what we passed last time.
Okay.
And how we should be enforcing it.
All right.
Yeah.
Okay. Any other, Alderman Worry?
I'd make a motion to hold this until our next meeting.
Motion by Worry to hold to our next meeting, second by
Second.
Burnett. Under discussion. Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Nays, motion carried. Moving forward, number 4. Consideration of possible action on the request by the Department of Public Works to enter into a 5-year sole source contract with Badger Concrete Lifting for mud jacking services citywide on an as-needed basis in the amount not to exceed the annual allocation in the approved capital improvement program. Director Grenier.
Generally speaking, we have between $25,000 and $30,000 set aside in the annual capital improvement program for mud jacking. Mud jacking oftentimes is used as a first alternative for settled curb and gutter rather than cutting the old curb and gutter out and replacing it. Sometimes it's used for sidewalks. Sometimes we've even tried using it to raise concrete panels in the roadway. Back in 2007, for the 2007-2008 biannual contract, Purchasing Division put the request for quotations out. Badger was the only respondent to that request for quotations. We went through the 2008 and 2007 and 8 contract years. Again, for 2009 and 2010, we put this bid out on the street to Purchasing Department. We received prices from Badger Concrete Lifting and Ray's Wright Concrete Lifting. Badger was significantly less expensive than Ray's Wright, so we executed the contract with Badger for a 2-year period. In 2011, we put another request for quotations out. Badger was the only respondent. For 2012-2013, we put a 2-year contract on the street. Badger was the only respondent. In 2014, we did a single-year contract with 3 option renewal years. So for 2014, with the options for 15, 16, and 17, Badger, again, was the only respondent. So going all the way back to 2007, either Badger's been the only one to respond, or the one contract that we had another bid come in, it was substantially more expensive. Badger's prices have been relatively consistent and reasonable for the type of work they're doing. After consulting with the purchasing department, staff would recommend to enter into a 5-year contract with Badger for an amount not to exceed, and like I said, it's typically $25,000 to $30,000 a year. Once we hit that max, we just stop. We don't do any more work.
Okay, any questions for our director?
Good one.
Alderman Weary?
Mr. Chairman, Director, is that, are you finding that that's enough funds for the mud jack? Because that.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, generally speaking, that's about, we really don't have a lot more than that, that mud jacking would be a proper technology to use.
A lot of times, I mean, you'll have those aprons that misalign with the street, you come in and then.
Correct.
pick it up
If we
and
can
it's-
do something like that, less invasive,
It's-
less disruptive to the
Yeah.
property owner, we want to do that. But generally speaking,
All right.
25 to 30,000.
Good.
Alderman Burnett?
The vendor is agreeing to keep the prices stable for 5 years?
Well,
Any
what we would
opt-out?
do is we would negotiate a 5-year contract, and generally speaking, it would be the same terms and conditions that we had in the 2 or 4-year contracts previously, where they are allowed an escalator clause, but generally the escalator clause is in the 2 to 3% range.
Okay, that's fine. That's all.
Again, we'll continue to work with the purchasing department, and we will have purchasing draft the 5-year agreement for us, so that we get those terms and conditions written in, and that if there was a massive price spike in any given year, we would have an out clause for that.
Okay, thank you.
Alderman Johnson?
Do we have, 5 years seems like a long agreement to me. I mean, what's the advantage to the city of Green Bay for doing a 5-year versus a 2-year? Other than that fact that you have to bring it back here again?
Well, actually, bringing it back here is not a big deal for us. The biggest issue is another contract that purchasing has to deal with. It's staff time at their end.
And we're looking at 30,000 a year?
Yes.
And so do they price this out, say, per slab? Is it time and material? How do you handle the details within that overall budget?
What we have is, there is curb and gutter, pavement, sidewalks, and aprons. We have an estimate of the number of each unit, and we simply take a look at the units, the unit price, and we'll take a look at the unit price from year to year to make sure that there's not big swings in price.
So the nature of this purchase contract, it does enable the city to back out if for some reason a
Yes.
price comes above what would industry standard would be?
Yes. Again, what we'd be looking at is, we would be structuring the contract this year, taking a look back at the 2017 contract prices, and then have a reasonable allowance for escalation on a year-to-year basis. If for some reason the contractor can't meet that, there would be an out clause for the city, and then we could go back on the open market for it.
So would the out clause be on a project-by-project
No,
basis
it'd
or
be
for
on
the
an
whole
annual
contract?
basis.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, any other questions or concerns? If not, I'll entertain a motion.
Motion to approve.
Motion to approve by Worry, second by
Second.
Burnett, under discussion. Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Ayes, motion carried. 7. Consideration with possible action on the review and award of contract sewers 3-18 Elizabeth Street. Director Kinnear.
Oh, we gotta go back to item 5.
5. Okay, number 5, consideration of possible action on the request by Parking Division to renew its lease for the Lot E. Edward property, 221, 225, and 231 South Jefferson Street with the Freeman Stratch Seeing Fathers.
Norbertines.
Norbertines, okay.
That one, it threw us for a loop too. So what we've got is a copy of a draft agreement with Fathers. We have been leasing Lot E since 1979. Lot E is down on Jefferson, correct?
Yep, just on the
Jefferson
south
and-
side of the phone company building.
Sure. So we manage the lot on their behalf. And what we've been finding over the last couple of years is the lease price that we pay them versus the revenue that we've been taking in, we're actually starting to operate the lot at a loss based on the old contract that we had. So we went back and we approached the fathers, explained the financial situation to them, and said, we simply can't continue this lease, especially operating at a loss. They came back with financial terms. They reduced the lease price by about $19,000, which allows us to continue to operate that lot and break even again. So we're happy with the lease conditions. They're happy to have us continue to manage the lot on their behalf. Provides a little bit of income for them, so the staff does recommend entering into the new lease.
Okay, any questions, concerns?
Motion to approve.
Motion to approve by Worry, second by
Second.
Burnett, under discussion. Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Nays, motion carried. 7, consideration, possible action on the review and award of the contract sewers 3-18 Elizabeth Street. Director Grenier.
Okay, this is a project on Elizabeth Street. I think if you remember back to when we first started having discussions relative to uses for the excess money that came from the stadium district, one of the projects that we identified was a street bonding, street flooding issue that occurs on Elizabeth Street near the east, over off near Baird Creek. That's one of the low basins, and what's needed over there is a significantly sized lift station. That's storm sewer that we inherited when Preble was annexed, so it's severely undersized according to today's design standards. So even though we didn't wind up putting the stadium district tax money into that project, it was identified at that time. Staff has some of the work was contracted out, some of the work was done in-house, but we've come up with a design and have put that out for bid. Very pleased to see the amount of interest on behalf of the contracting community. In this case, we received 6 bids from contractors. Low bid was Vinton Construction Company in the amount of $1,128,118.32. Staff does recommend award of the contract to the low responsive bidder, which was Vinton, in that amount.
Any questions or concerns from the committee? Alderman
Has-
Burnett.
Has Vinton done work for the city? In the past, Vinton's done quite a
Vinton?
bit of
Oh,
work.
yes.
Yes,
Yeah.
you're comfortable with that?
We would have been comfortable with any of the 6 that bid on this project.
Sure. Okay, thank you.
Okay, any other questions? If not, entertain a motion.
Move to approve?
Motion to approve by Burnett, second by
Second.
Worry, under discussion. Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Nays, motion carried. 8, consideration of possible action on offering price reports for Webster Avenue project and authorized payments. Director Grenier.
As we've been dealing with for the last several meetings, as we continue to acquire real estate or lands needed to construct the North Webster project between University Avenue and Radisson Street, the first step in this, for those of you who are new to the committee, the very first step is an offering price report, and that's the first document that we send to a property owner indicating what we are offering to purchase that property for. There's a number of different land interests that we have. There are what we refer to as a fee simple, which means you're paying a fee and you are receiving real property in exchange for that. Fee simple could be an entire parcel, it could be a small strip, it could be a corner. We also have land interests that are referred to as a TLE, or a temporary limited interest. In a temporary limited interest situation, as the name implies, it's temporary in nature and it's limited in scope. So if we have to enter onto a property to do some grading work to get a sidewalk in, and we restore to like or better condition when we leave, and after we leave, the property remains with the original property owner, that's a temporary limited easement. We also have permanent limited easements. Oftentimes, we will acquire permanent limited easements for items such as controller cabinets for traffic signals or for lighting. On a permanent limited easement, we're retaining an easement. The property owner continues to retain title to the property, but we are going to occupy that piece of property on a permanent basis. So a control cabinet for a traffic signal would be a good application for that. So you had your little real estate primer for the week. For this item today, we have a number of parcels that we are going to be submitting offering price reports to the property owners. Parcel 21 is a fee simple to Alfonso Ledesma Hernandez in the amount of $103,000. Parcel 33 is a temporary limited easement to the redevelopment authority of the city of Green Bay in the amount of $235. Parcel 41 is a fee simple to the redevelopment authority for $14,015. Parcel 43 is a fee simple to the redevelopment authority of Green Bay in the amount of $16,560. Parcel 46 has both a fee simple and a temporary limited easement with the redevelopment authority of the city of Green Bay in the amount of $400. Parcel 47 is a temporary limited easement with the redevelopment authority of the city of Green Bay in the amount of $20,060. Parcel 56 is a temporary limited easement with the redevelopment authority of the city of Green Bay in the amount of $295. And parcel 60 is a temporary limited easement with the redevelopment authority of the city of Green Bay in the amount of $50. These may look a little strange to you, again, more so for Alders Brunette and Johnson, who haven't been on the committee throughout this process for the last several months. The Webster Avenue project is a Wisconsin Department of Transportation funded project, so we have to follow the WISDOT rules on this. Part of what happens during the development of a real estate acquisition plan is our right-of-way specialist goes out and creates what's called a project data book. So it's essentially comp sales for like types of property that we use as a starting valuation for the TLEs, PLEs, fee simples, depending on what we're acquiring. As he's developing the offers, the offering price reports that will be going off, we have to work through the state's regional coordinator for real estate acquisition to ensure that everything that we're doing is compliant not only with Wisconsin Department of Transportation, but also Federal Highway Administration rules and regulations. So all of this is not just city out there offering money to people. This is actually going through 2 levels of scrutiny at both the state and federal level before we even bring it to you. So there's quite a bit of stuff going on in the background. And that will apply not only to the offering price reports, but for the agreements for purchase and sale of real estate and relocation claims that we bring forward on this project. And anytime that we have projects like this, I will come and let you know that these are WISDOT projects, so you have that knowledge as well.
Any questions or concerns? If not, entertain a motion.
Move to approve.
Motion to approve by
Second.
Wordy, second by Burnett. We are under discussion. Here, Alderman Johnson.
Does this require, I presume, does the RDA approve these amounts afterwards as well?
I believe they do because they're going to be either selling through the fee simple or providing the easement necessary.
Okay. Would it be safe to make the assumption that as staff, you've already, done the legwork to know that the RDA would be agreeable to these price points?
Not necessarily, because that would involve negotiation with the property owner, and the OPR, the offering price report, is the first step in that negotiation. We have to have a lead, if you will,
Sure.
to come in with. This is that lead, but again, what we do for the project as a whole, we know what a square foot of TLE is going for. We know what the square foot of PLE is going for. And for acquisition of if we have to acquire a strip of land for a vision corner or something like that, there's a value assigned to a strip take, and then the houses themselves, any full acquisition we're going through, we actually do appraisals on those, and we've got an appraiser on retainer that's approved by the DOT and things of that nature. So there's actually a formalized process. Again, we're not just going in with a number that we think is fair. So we do all of that legwork ahead of time, and then because we're following the DOT process, there's some very definitive thou shalt and thou shalt not. In the offering price report, that's our first offer.
Thank you.
Anything else, Brian? Okay, any other questions? If not, entertain a motion.
Motion's on the floor.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Nays, motion carried. Number 9, consideration of possible action on agreements for purchase and sale of real estate for Webster Avenue project and authorized payments. Director Grenier.
Okay, similar to the offering price reports, we have come to agreement for purchase on 2 additional parcels out there. Parcel 14 with Douglas J. Schneider at 1101, 1105 Day Street in the amount of $95,000. Parcel 19 with Nia V. Kong at 1104 North Webster Avenue in the amount of $115,000.
Move to approve.
Motion approved by Worry, second by
Second.
Burnett. Under discussion. Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Nays, motion carried. 10, consideration of possible action on relocation claims for the Webster Avenue project and authorized payments. Director Canary.
Okay, again, more so for Alders, Burnett and Johnson, so that you guys are completely up to speed on how the DOT does things. The purchase price, if 2 people are involved in a property transfer, which is our length transaction, just about anything is on the table for negotiations for real estate. The way the DOT acquires real estate, it's not that easy. So what we have to look at is the purchase price of the structure and the land, and nothing else. If there are other things relative, I don't know, it could be the value of appliances, or a lot of times, DOT is going to buy the property from you, and they're buying that property for $115,000. You now have to buy a comparable house, and that comparable house in a different location is worth $125,000. So there's a difference in value of $10,000. The property owner who is being relocated has the ability to come back and petition the DOT for relocation expenses to make him whole for being disrupted. So that's what these relocation payments are. More often than not, what it represents is the difference between the parcel being purchased and the parcel that they are moving to. And again, this is part of the DOT process. This is all something, this is how they do property transfers. So we have 4 properties, there's actually 5 payments, and I can explain that a little later, but parcel 4 is Reginald and Jean A. Dockstader at 1000 Smith Street. The payment amount is $225. Parcel 8 is Carol Potasek at 1110 North Webster in the amount of $1,975. Parcel 10, David G. and Jeanette A. Klaus at 1032 North Webster in the amount of $60,225. Parcel 10, David G. and Jeanette A. Klaus in the amount of $4,422.88. Then parcel 19, Nia V. Kong, 1104 North Webster, $50,645. The reason that the Klaus property is on there twice, we had the relo payment set for them. There was an accepted offer and a closing date set. Something happened with the mortgage interest. There was a differential on the loan, so they came back, made a petition to DOT, and DOT concurred with that, which resulted in the extra $4,422.88 payment. So that's why it appears twice as opposed to being lumped in. We had everything prepped for the $60,000 payment, but the second claim came in, so we had to treat it separately.
Any questions, concerns? If not, entertain a motion.
Move to approve.
Motion to approve by Worry, second by
Second.
Burnett, under discussion. Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Any nays? Motion carried. 11, consideration with possible action on the applications for concrete sidewalk builder's license by the following. Steve, you got a problem with any of these?
Actually, we do on 2 of them.
Okay. 11A, Absolute Concrete, Director Grenier.
Absolute has not had a license in the last 10 years, so we would recommend conditional approval pursuant to a positive reference check.
Okay, any questions or concerns? If not, entertain a motion to that effect.
So moved.
Motion by Johnson, second by Worry, under discussion. Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Nays, motion carried. B, Christensen Concrete, Director Grenier.
Christensen, we have no problems with.
Move to approve.
Motion to
Second.
approve by Worry, second by Burnett, under discussion. Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Nays, motion carried. 11C, Concrete Finishers LLC, Director Grenier.
Concrete finishers, we have no problems.
To approve.
Motion by Burnett to approve, second by
Second.
Johnson, under discussion. Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Nays, motion carried. 11D, Delrar Incorporated, Director Grenier.
This contractor, we actually recommend denial. That's pretty strong for us to do, and it's not something we take lightly. Delrar has been a contractor on some city-funded projects through 2017. Despite our working with that contractor to remedy some of the issues, there continues to be issues with their ability to follow instruction as given by city staff and with quality issues relative to their placement. So we are recommending a 1-year suspension or non-renewal of their license.
Any questions or concerns? If not, entertain a motion.
Anybody here, Mr. Chairman? Delbar?
No, there isn't.
Move to deny.
Motion to deny by Worry, second by
Second.
Burnett, under discussion. Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Nays, motion carried. 11E, Fisher Allman Construction.
Fisher,
Director
all
Kinnear.
we're good with.
Move to approve.
Motion to approve by Burnett, second by Johnson. Under discussion, hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Nays, motion carried. E, Edward, information. Director's report, Director Kinnear.
Just like to start off by acknowledging the efforts of all staff to address the record snowfall we had about a week and a half ago. That took that took a lot of work from just about everybody within the department. That was not just snowplow drivers within street section. We had some sanitation and sewer folks in there helping out as well. Parking division was working around the clock. And then after we came out of that on Monday, sanitation had to go back and continue to do their work. They actually doubled up the Monday route, did Monday, hit it again on Tuesday to make sure nobody got missed. Continued working through the week, despite the fact that we had snow all over the place, and was able to do all the collection throughout the city. Sewer section then immediately started on Tuesday, or on Monday morning, going out and marking the location of inlets in low-lying areas and known flooding areas, with street section directly behind them with heavy equipment digging out the inlets from behind the snowbanks. And that effort continued throughout the course of the week. So by the time we were done, we had quite a lot of hours put into that, and I would say by Thursday or so, in my opinion, the city was looking pretty darn good. So we continue to monitor things, especially from sewer section, to make sure that we're not having any flooding. But to come out of that storm in as good a shape as we did, I think some of you folks have heard me say it multiple times in the past, and I'll continue to say it, that I'll put my staff head to head against anybody's any day. I'm very, very proud of the work that they do. We have been getting some outreach relative to the spring yard waste collection. Technically, that started 1 or 2 weeks ago. It should have started 2 weeks ago. We've already put out on social media that we are going to be extending that by 1 week, and staff will continue to take a look at that. If we can extend that, we will, but part of this, remember that just because it snowed and we got set back 2 weeks, doesn't mean that the regular work activities that street section has to take care of, that didn't get set back 2 weeks. We're still trying to cram everything within a confined time space. So we are making the commitment to extend by at least 1 week. We'll continue to monitor the situation, and if we can extend a second week, I'll do that. I'll try to keep you guys apprised of what's going on.
What date do you have, Steve? For that 1
We're
week?
set to be done end of the first week of May, May 9th.
May 9th is the last day you got right now?
Wednesday, so it would have been May 11th,
Is that a Friday?
is a Friday.
Okay. That's what you have right now,
So,
right?
Yeah, so we go to the 18th,
18th of May?
yes.
That's the 1 week extension?
Yeah, we
Okay.
will now
Just
begin
want
the
that
final
confirmed.
week on Monday, May 14th, and continue through that week.
Okay.
Okay, that's what we've committed to at this point. Again, we'll monitor that situation and see if there's something else we can do. But if we simply need to get on to other things, we may have to do that.
Okay. Any questions or concerns? Any questions for our director?
Well, then staff
Oh, you still have
continues
more,
to, staff continues to convert the fleet. I think I'm rolling the dice saying we're pretty safe now. That last one kind of threw us for a loop, but shouldn't have been completely unexpected. Construction projects have started, so it's that time of the year we can start expecting that. Alderman Burnett has served before Alderman Johnson. What we will do as construction projects in your district are starting to kick off. Staff tries to get a letter out to you to notify you what's going on in your district, and if you start to get residents calling in asking questions, or you start to see construction barrels or things like that in your district, that you've got some prior notice that we're starting a project there. One of the other things that we've been hearing about is relative to the docks and piers. We had 2 of the piers up at the Metro Boat Launch installed prior to the snowstorm 2 weeks ago. Due to concerns with ice shoves and water backing up in the bay, we were able to get one of those 2 piers out of the water. The second one, we simply couldn't in a safe manner before the weather changed, so that one was left in and prayed. Things were not good up there. We were really worried about damage to that facility. During the storm on Saturday morning at about 10:30, I was downtown, and from the Ray Nitschke Memorial Bridge, I was able to get a view of the dock, the gangways for City Deck. Now, those gangways are stored in their winter up position. Normally, that's several feet out of the water. The lower 20 to 25% of the gangways was actually submerged at that time. So the sage that came blowing up and stacking the water up on the bay was significant. We had water waves breaking backwards. The river was actually flowing backwards for a period of time with white caps on it that were breaking and splashing up over the seawall. So when we say we were concerned about it, I'm serious. We were really, really worried that we were going to have some flooding problems. Luckily, with the rate the snow fell, it kind of plugged off the inlets for a while, which stopped anything else from getting into the storm sewer system. By the time the wind subsided, then the temperatures came up, the water had started flowing back out, and then we were able to get the drainage, and then how the temperatures came up over the last several days in more of a gradual fashion allowed things to move as well as they have. We continue to keep our eyes on smaller rivers, creeks, and streams. I know Baird Creek right now is running almost bank full, so we're keeping an eye on that to make sure we don't have any flooding problems. And we will get the docks in as soon as we can, as soon as it's safe for our folks to do that. Typically, early May, we like to get the floating docks at Lights Park and City Deck in. Unfortunately, the marina is still kind of socked in with ice, and we can't get our barge out. Without the barge, we can't deploy the docks. But plan is to get in there in early May, weather permitting, and it's safe for our folks to get out there. So if we receive any calls about fishing tournaments or either the Metro Boat Launch, we're hoping to have Metro back in operation, if not this weekend, by next weekend, and City Deck and Lights Park will follow as soon as it's safe for us to do that.
Any questions or concerns, Alderman Worry?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Well, first, maybe I was seeing things, but Mr. Pirlo, were you driving a plow?
No, I was not. They're smart enough not to let me.
Okay, that was the first thing. The second thing is,
Supervisor.
well, I thought he was pitching in. I thought it's on. Sidewalk bids, when do those go out? When's the last time, just as kind of a refresher, that we can hand in sidewalks to get replaced this year? I know it always comes up quicker than you think.
Yeah, for this year, I think we might be locked in already.
Yeah.
I don't
It always
know
seems to
that,
come to.
but by all means, if you got sidewalks that are of concern, get them in, whether we can commit to get them done on a replacement this year or not, at the very least, we can make sure that they are safe for travel. It may not be replaced, it might be filled in or, or patched. But yeah, the minute you know about an unsafe sidewalk, let us know and we'll get it at least dressed up.
Have we ever looked at doing 2 a year? You know, one later fall, the ones that we've collected all spring and summer, because they always pop up. I mean, we go on complaint, right?
We do. We have not looked at doing 2 contracts because once we let the contract, the early contract, that contractor is busy right through, sometimes he's got snow falling on.
So, yesterday.
And we do take the complaints year round. So, yeah, don't ever let that be an impediment. Just
All right, thanks.
let us know.
Okay, any other questions, concerns?
Motion to receive and place on file.
Motion to receive and place on file by Burnett,
Second.
second by Worry. Under discussion? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Nays, motion carried. Right now, we're gonna postpone this for approximately 3.5 minutes until it's 6 o'clock, and we have a public hearing.
Yes.
So, it's postponed.
What's that?
We are gonna start the public hearing.
Anybody wishing to speak for the Hillcrest Statement public hearing tonight?
So we're holding a public hearing, 6 o'clock at night, for the following items: asphalt pavement, Hillcrest Drive, Renaissance Lane to West Mason Street, asphalt resurfacing, Haven Place, West City limits to Renaissance Lane, water main and water services, Erie Road, Friars Path to 830 feet south of East Mason Street, Hillcrest Drive, West Point Road to Renaissance Lane. Okay, we're gonna start with asphalt pavement, Hillcrest. Renaissance Lane to West Mason Street. Now, what I'm gonna ask is that if you have a comment, concern, or anything else, please raise your hand. I will recognize you. State your name and address for the record, please. You can talk as many times as you want. I'll allow that. So if there's any questions, if not, our director, Steve Grenier of Department of Public Works, is going to read off your name, and we'll start the public hearing. Thank you.
Okay. First part of the public hearing is the engineer's report. So we will start with the engineer's report on the public hearing of April 25th, 2018. In accordance with state statute 66.0703, this public hearing is being held to levy assessments for proposed pavement and water main improvements, which are included in the 2018 Capital Improvements Program. All of the projects being considered tonight will be included in contracts administered by the City of Green Bay Department of Public Works Engineering Division. All of the proposed assessments are being levied in accordance with the city's assessment ordinance. During construction, the contractor is required to provide access to businesses at all times and residences as much as practical. When a residential driveway is inaccessible, the property owners or tenants can receive permission from the city police department to park on adjoining streets. Problems during construction should be brought to the attention of the Department of Public Works Engineering Division by calling 448-3100. Asphalt pavement, Hillcrest Drive from Renaissance Lane to West Mason Street is classified as a local street in a residential zone area. The existing asphalt street is in poor condition and is in need of reconstruction. Hillcrest Drive will be reconstructed with a 3 1/4 inch asphalt pavement over gravel base, having a clear width of 28 feet from Renaissance Lane to West Mason Street. The estimated cost of pavement construction is $770,000. Water main will be constructed prior to pavement reconstruction. Asphalt resurfacing. Haven Place from the west city limits to Renaissance Lane, is classified as a local street located in a residentially zoned area. The existing asphalt pavement is in poor condition and is in need of resurfacing. Resurfacing will consist of pulverizing the existing pavement, eliminating depressions with a 1 1/2 inch asphalt leveling course, then placing a 1 1/2 inch or more asphalt surface over the entire paved area. The objectives of resurfacing are to provide a smoother roadway surface, eliminate maintenance problems, and to extend the life of the street. Asphalt resurfacing can only be completed on an existing improved street where the base is still in good condition. Once base failure has occurred, the entire street usually has to be reconstructed. The estimated cost of resurfacing is $275,000. Water main and water services. Erie Road from Friars Path to 830 feet south of East Mason Street is classified as a local street in a residential or light manufactured zoned area. Erie Road will have a 12-inch diameter water main constructed in the public right-of-way. The estimated cost of water main construction is $130,000. Hillcrest Drive from West Point Road to Renaissance Lane is classified as a local street in a residential zoned area. Hillcrest Drive will also have a 12-inch water main constructed in the public right-of-way. The estimated cost of water main construction is $140,000.
Excuse me, sir. Are we gonna get
Just
a
one
copy?
second, please. Just 1 second. Steve, are you finished?
That is the engineer's report.
Okay.
Are we gonna get a copy of that, everybody in this room and whoever's concerned? What you just read, all that stuff, which I couldn't take notes on?
Absolutely.
Does that answer your question, ma'am?
Yes, it does.
Okay, thank you. All right, Steve, we're ready.
Okay. First person is Donna Wasilewski, 1422 Hillcrest Drive.
Okay, who's that? Can you just come up here, please, so we can hear you? If you can. Thank you.
Well, first of all, if we're gonna have our road reconstructed, it's only gonna be guaranteed for 25 years. The other place pays almost nothing, and theirs is for 20 years, is that right?
Let me interrupt you 1 second. Which one are we talking about?
On Hillcrest.
Hillcrest, okay, thank you.
Hillcrest. And Haven Place?
Right.
Or, yeah, no, it's, yeah. Anyway, theirs is much less money, and it's guaranteed if they have to work on it for 20 years. Ours is only gonna be 25. And the traffic we have is outrageous. They're all coming from FF, coming and going. And I don't know, I just don't agree with putting the curbing and everything in there. That's it.
Steve, do you have name and address?
I do.
Oh.
Okay, thank you. Thank you. All right.
Okay, really. Would you please introduce yourself and tell us your title?
Okay.
Brian Johnson, Alderman, District 9.
Alderman Nicholson.
Alderman Weary, District 8.
Alderman Jesse Burnett, Alderman for your district, District 12.
Sounds good.
Okay, Steve, next, please.
Dick Diedrich, 1604 Hillcrest.
Yes, my concern was something with the water.
Mr. Dietrich?
Oh, yes.
Could you just
Oh,
focus
this
on,
way.
explain to us, because we're going to be making the decision.
Oh, okay.
Thank you.
I thought I was supposed to talk to them.
Thank you.
My concern is about this water. When we were at the meeting, they said connecting the water from Hillcrest to Renaissance would complete this, would be fresh water going. Well, I was in the King of Arms, and there's 9 cul-de-sacs in there. The water goes down and stops. So it's not about fresh water, it's just trying to push water past us, and there's only 5 of us there, and we all got good wells, so I don't know what the deal is with the water, and it's not only the water, but it's the street. And I got 2 bills they sent me, and it comes like 37,000, about 32,000 with the water inlet. Then I got about another 5,000 to my house. So I'm talking, close to $38,000, and I just don't have that kind of money to take off a tree to pay for this stuff. And then they said 5 years, put on your taxes at 4.75% interest. I mean, you know, I'm on a limited income, where do you get this? Or how do you do this, you know? And I agree with the street there, that our street, the whole street isn't that bad like they claim. Anybody, if you go down Hillcrest, it's not as bad. I don't know if anybody's seen where they resurfaced it 2 years ago. They ground it up and resurfaced it. That stuff is all in good shape. You know, that isn't falling apart. It's the other parts where you get a little piece of blacktop out and then you get water in there, people go in there, and pretty soon you get bigger hole and a bigger hole. That's a lot of the problems there. So, that's kind of what I got to say.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Next will be Pat Buckley, 3249 West Point Road.
Gentlemen, thank you. First off, Hillcrest Road has gotten to be pretty much a feeder road for not only King of Arms and some of the other housing developments out there, but actually now you have people coming from the casino or cutting through to go Double F into Howard and to Swamico. You have people coming from the airport, people coming off 172, and I come that way 3 times a day, and the people are coming right up West Point, which is, for all intents and purposes, is 4 lanes wide. So it was built to be a feeder road, West Point Road was. What they didn't do is just before it hits Hillcrest, they stopped West Point Road as far as the size of it, the width of it, and hoping everybody would go east to Packerland. Well, they don't. They go west, take a right, heading north onto Hillcrest, and take that out to West Mason Street. Or they cross Mason Street, head down Double F into Hobart, Howard, Swamico. Or they take it to 29. It's a crossover, a cut off to 29 for a lot of people. So with the amount of traffic on that road, and I don't remember the exact number, I thought it was somewhere around 800 cars a day, that road gets beat up. It's not meant for that. It's a small country road. Between the truck traffic, the vehicular traffic, it gets beat up pretty well. Now on top of that problem, you have the water problem out there. With all the development that's happened out in that area, especially in the Sandia, West Point area, there's no place for the water to go. We all pay stormwater management fees, and ever since I've lived out there, there's been no management to the water problem out there. And every year it's gotten worse, where, you know, in the springtime, our yards flood out. The water's got no place to go because the culverts are a lot of times higher than what the ditch line is. Even if it is going to go through the ditch line, there's no place for the water to go because they've never controlled the water. So with that, you have a number of places within Hillcrest that each year, due to the frost or the different weather conditions, you get big dips in the road. And I don't know if anybody's ever gone through there. Jesse probably has when he was campaigning. But if you go through there with a plow or a very low to the ground car, you're going to scrape pretty hard. And we go through it every year. And so before we even think about replacing the road and what we're going to do with the road, we got to deal with the water. Where are we going to go with this water? And I have yet to see the plan on where we're going with the water. Now on top of that, we all got our estimates for our bills for this project. You know, and a lot of people out there are retired or near retirement. I think it was pretty excessive based on the fact that if it was a country road and we were just living on it, it was our traffic and typical country road traffic, it'd probably be more reasonable, and we actually wouldn't be here right now. But because of the amount of traffic, and I think partially because of the poor design on the traffic pattern on the west side, we're here. And I really think that the city has to, at some point in time, figure out how we're going to deal with repairing our roads. We got a lot of bad roads in the city, and I know they've tried to come up with a couple different options. But I think it's time that they actually get down and figure this out. Because to charge people $10,000, $15,000 each to repair a country road that should never be in this condition to begin with is a crime. And I think the city needs to take a look at how they're doing this. When I look at the water part of it, making these people hook up to the water supply, we went through this before Hobart hooked up about 7 years ago on the council. We looked at it when Hobart was coming on board with the water. They tried to make everybody switch over to the well, or from their wells to the water supply. There's not a need. The water's great out there. To do it, to help cover their cost, to hook up their pipes, I think is wrong. If they want to put the water out there, fine. And if at some point in time, the water's not good, and people need to hook up, that's a different story. But there's no reason why when they have good wells and the people have spent money to either maintain them, or, for instance, myself, we just put a new well in a year and a half ago. We already spent, I don't remember how much the well was, several thousands of dollars to put a well in. And eventually you're gonna come to me and say, I gotta hook up to the water? Now, that particular property that I've just put a well in isn't slotted to hook up yet, but I know when they did the Hobart, or when they were gonna do the Hobart, they were trying to hook everybody up to clean it up. So, I think this should be, at the very least, until we have a better plan of what we're gonna do out there from a traffic standpoint, from a water standpoint, and an affordability standpoint, I think this should be tabled and until we have some solutions for this stuff. So, that's all I got.
Okay.
Thank you, gentlemen.
Director Grenier, next, please. Next
Amanda
speaker.
Ehlers, 1433 Hillcrest Drive.
Hi, sorry, I had to type out my notes so that I don't forget something.
Take your time.
Good evening. I just wanted to thank everyone here for listening to us. I live on Hillcrest Drive with my husband and my daughter. And it's a great neighborhood. It's great, it's quiet, it's comfortable. Our neighbors aren't so close yet. If you need something, they're close enough. In the last few years, it has not been so quiet with the construction projects in our area. Noise and destruction has become a big part of our lives. During the expansion project of Highway 29, our road was used as a shortcut to get construction equipment, materials to the work site. And then day and night, there was truck after truck, dump trucks, semis with big oversized loads, semis hauling equipment and materials, and the workers themselves using our road as a shortcut. Our street is a residential street. It's not built for this type of movement. And also we have a lot of subdivisions popping up all over our area, all of which have used Hillcrest and Haven as a means to get to Mason Street or 29. I've been told by the people in the neighborhood that the destruction actually began in the 90s when subdivision of Sandia was brought through and then they hooked it up to Hillcrest. So overuse of our road is not really a new issue. It's been going on for a while. Most recently, homes have been built on West Point, and now a road is going from West Point into the subdivision, and our street has experienced every single one of those trucks, using it to get from place to place. I'm glad to see the growth within our neighborhood. It's exciting, but I certainly do not think that it's up to the homeowners on Hillcrest to repair the road that's servicing all these brand new houses. It's not just a shortcut for construction workers, it's also a way out of the subdivisions to get to Mason Street or the highway. So many of whom have no regard for traffic signs, speed limits, safety, personal property. My husband and I have replaced 3 mailboxes in as many years. They're just going too fast. They don't stop at the stop signs. They don't care. We have tire tracks in our yard every morning. My house is located on the corner of Hillcrest and West Point, and if this road is reconstructed, I think it'll need to be monitored a lot better than I don't think it ever has been monitored. People pretty much just treat it as a country road, and those of us that live on it suffer all the consequences. I reached out to Dave Hansen, who's the city traffic engineer. He provided me with a report for how much traffic our road gets per week. I don't know if you guys would like to see it. I have it.
Share it with us, please.
It basically
One
wasn't.
second, are these copies?
Well, he emailed it to me and I printed it.
Okay, they're separate, all right.
Okay, he emailed that to me, and I was unfortunately hoping for a much more comprehensive document than what I received. That document has the amount of cars that traveled in both lanes of Hillcrest onto or from Mason Street, which is way at the end of our road. So it kind of misses West Point, it misses Sandia, it misses all of the little roads that connect and go other ways. It also doesn't have data points of weights of vehicles or anything about the type of vehicle that's driving on our road. Again, if this construction project were to move forward, I definitely think enforcement, some sort of weight restriction would be crucial. We were told at the city meeting that sometimes in construction there are particular routes that trucks and equipment must take. In my experience, Hillcrest is the route. I mean, I haven't seen any other route that they use. So I'm not sure if it was supposed to be the route, but it was. If route restrictions and somehow someone to monitor them, maybe our road wouldn't be in such bad shape. Basically, the point I want to get across is many other factors went into the condition of Hillcrest Drive and Haven. I agree that something needs to be done about this road in our area, but I can't in good conscience support this project, knowing what it will do to my neighbors and our families. Some of us have children that we would like to send to college. Some of us are retired and on fixed incomes. Some of us are college students ourselves and work during the day. Some of us just constructed a home on this road to raise a family in an amazing neighborhood. We all pay our taxes. We all take care of our property. The assessments that have been handed out literally have the potential to bankrupt some of us. So I don't see how any of us should be expected to pay for a road that's been used and destroyed by everyone in Green Bay. Thank you.
Steve?
Roger Truckee, 3359 Haven Place.
Thank you first for listening to us. I live on Haven Place and I'm against the resurfacing for a number of reasons. One, it's not just a residential street. It's used by everybody. Hobart, there's 2 new businesses in Hobart right now. One has trucking, I don't know what the other one's gonna be, but when Trowelon was there, they did run semis up and down Haven, which goes into Hillcrest, so they use both of them. So what those businesses are gonna do from the city limits out, I don't know. Another reason is, we've got an oil mat road right now with no base. As per the meeting at NWTC, we're gonna have a blacktop road put on the same base. It'll guarantee the blacktop for 20 years, but the base will not be guaranteed, and it was stated that if the base fails, the homeowners will pay for it. They said the base will be covered on Hillcrest. You cannot put a new road over Haven because there's springs underneath it. Just last year, the year before, to fix one spot in front of my house, they had to go down 6 feet plus just to hit some base where they could put 1.5 inch rock in. So that's one of the big issues with it. The other big thing is you keep talking about a wheel tax. You're gonna stick this on us, we're gonna pay for it. Next year, the year after, you're gonna put a wheel tax in, so we're gonna pay again, which I don't think is right. I would like some assurances what the deal is gonna be with the city council on the wheel tax before any of this is done. That's all I have, thank you.
Thank you, sir. Ladies and gentlemen, can we just hold the applause? I know it's very emotional. I know basically everybody here is against these projects, but can we just hold the applause, please? Thank
Diane
you.
Wilson, property
Director
manager,
Grenier.
Oneida Nation.
Hi, my name is Diane Wilson. I work with the Oneida Nation. We have 3 parcels that are being impacted by these proposed special assessments. 2 of them are residential properties at 1235 Hillcrest and 1143 Hillcrest. Both of these properties are in trust status. The other parcel that we own is at 6H765-4-1, and that is a fee property that is unimproved. I just have 3 comments, which, as far as the assessments, the city lacks the authority to levy these special assessments against trust property minimally, and such authority against the nation's fee property may also be lacking. The assessments seem high, and the methodology for assessment seems unreasonable. There's preference for the method of uniformly spreading the costs of such improvements across all property rather than via individual assessments.
Thank you. Director Grenier?
Looks to be Kevin Lincoln, 1508 Hillcrest.
Hey guys, sorry about the lousy writing. You know, one thing that I will acknowledge is it's kind of a case where the city's kind of catching up to us. We all remember years ago when Green Bay Soul Company was way out on the border. Now there's homes all around it, so then everybody doesn't like it. But the main objection I have with this, the road does need some repair. I agree with Mr. Dietrich, my neighbor, that, you know, resurfacing works really well. As far as the curb and gutter, it's really unnecessary in our neighborhood. They're not, actually it'd be better to just widen it rather than use curb and gutter, because it doesn't really serve any purpose other than cutouts like they have in Wyoming and Montana, those kind of roads. So our road really isn't that. But our road is more or less a country road. We moved out there. That's the way it's been ever since. But they did a great job resurfacing down by some of the low areas, and they've held up well. So as far as having that type of assessment, I don't think it's really necessary, just to save money. And then another issue I had was with the cost sharing. The overall project totals, we didn't have at the last meeting. But, you know, when I questioned that, they said we were going to assume the whole cost. That's to go along with the member of the United Nations, is how you distribute that cost. It's my understanding that the city should bear some of the cost. So you mean the residents pay for everything? Well then, that was what's told to me the last time, so I don't really get how that works. I assume we're gonna get some cost sharing from the city. And another point that I agree with some of my other members here was on a wheel tax. You know, we don't, I'm retired, Dick's retired, a lot of us are retired. There's only 5 homes that are affected by the water. We all have good wells. We all like good water. We don't want to keep a bad well, obviously, right? So the water, as far as putting a line in, I don't know how you do it though. I'll be honest with you on that point. Maybe we could have the lateral run at a later date, like Pat Buckley suggested, like put the water through, but really, we live there, I'm home a lot, I don't see all these, any kind of maintenance problem. There's deadheads all over. So to run a line for over $100,000 for 5 properties that aren't even asking for the water. It's one issue when you need water, and then we'd have to come to the city and beg for it too, so that's another thing too. But we all have our wells tested, they're all good. And truck traffic is a really big concern. You know, how you reroute it and all that, I don't know. I don't have a solution for that. I'm not a traffic engineer, but when you got trucks running, I worked at JX Peterbilt, when you got a dump truck that's fully loaded on that short of a wheelbase, that's like running a big military truck. Those roads aren't made for it. And 9th Street and all the other ones, there's a lot of streets that aren't made for it. Marquette, a lot of those streets, they're not made for that. That's why there's not trucks there. So even if you do go ahead with the resurfacing, we're gonna have to put some kind of barrier. You can't be running those trucks like that because the road won't hold up, even if it's redone. And, well, thanks for listening. I appreciate your time.
Thank you, sir.
Okay.
Director Grenier?
Patricia Rast, 1245 Hillcrest Drive.
Want to spell that?
Roast, R-O-S-T, possibly?
Yes.
Okay.
Are you my alternate?
Yes. Thank you.
Now, this isn't exactly what other people have been talking about, but I'd like to break down my finances and my ability to pay this bill. I have a mortgage, which I cannot borrow 1 more cent. I can't get another loan. I have homeowner's insurance, public service, just like everybody else, public service, water. I have 2 phones, my landline and my cell phone. And this month, I had an unexpected trip to the emergency room. My part of that cost was $740. So out of my income of $24.48, it is a fixed annuity income minus my monthly costs. I end up with $644. Out of the $644, I try to save enough for basic needs. Yearly expenses, in my case, are $4,699. My mortgage interest is $3,666. My property taxes are $3,829. State and federal taxes vary. We've got some auto insurance in there for $500. After you subtract this, it doesn't include food or the use of my car or maintenance on my car. Right now, my car needs $1,000 worth of tires. You tell me where that money's gonna come from. The little bit I'm able to save every month just makes it barely even to pay these bills. I end up at the end of the month charging my groceries because I have nothing left. There will never be any more money. I had to withdraw from my IRA to pay for a heating cost. That's money I saved during my 33 years of employment. I don't think in any way you have the right to make me take my retirement and pay for this project. The roads are bad. They're terrible. Curb and gutter is totally unacceptable.
Just 1 second. You want a question?
Patricia, if I could,
Alderman Burnett has a question for you.
Yes, am
are
I
you
supposed to
okay?
sit down and come back?
No, you're fine there. Are you okay that this be forwarded to the council as part of the public record?
It is part of the public record. I
Just you
handed
hand it to me
you.
personally. I just want to make sure because I think this would
It's
be
signed,
very
right?
beneficial. Yeah, that's fine. As long as you're okay with it, I don't want to divulge any of your personal details.
I don't
But,
care. This is what they are.
Okay.
All right.
No, I thank you for that.
Thank you, Director Grenier.
Gail Brown, 1610 Hillcrest.
Good evening, guys. I guess my question is, the first when we had the meeting on WTC, you know, they asked, one person asked a question why they were running water through past our 5 houses. And they said it was to benefit us, you know, because their water was better than our well. And it would help the city maintain the water system. So then I asked what the real reason was. And they didn't really, because I don't think they ever answered the real reason why they're running the line past our house. So I said, well, how big is the line? They said it was 12-inch. Well, there's what, 5 houses, Dick said? Well, 12-inch line can handle about 2,000, 3,000 gallons a minute. And our 5 houses, I don't think, use that much water. So even if we used a little bit of it, I wanted just some clarity where all this water is going, because I don't think it's going to King of Arms. And maybe they're planning something else in the future, but I'd like clarity how the 5 houses benefit. 12-inch line, they have good wells, and if they can tell us, or I think the cost should be more reasonable than what it is to run that line. Because if it was solely for our benefit, it wouldn't be that big of a line. We wouldn't need that much water, because we don't use that much water. But like Dick said, our wells are good. Maybe someday they won't be good. And we wish we were back on city water. But I would just like clarity on that. You know, what is the main reason for that big pipe? Then secondly, why do we really have to be hooked up to it if we have good wells, like they said? You know, maybe can be a smaller pipe, maybe they have a good reason that can be clear in our minds and say, okay, we agree with it now. But I think the reasons they gave at that first meeting aren't the reasons why they're running that big pipe. Because if it was for our benefit, then they'd run it down Haven too and feed the rest of the city and be done with it, and then everybody'd have water. Then you'd be done forever on it. So I'm not against it. Like I said, I don't think, like they were talking about the road, I don't think we need that curb. We don't need a big fancy road. I don't need a sidewalk cut in my driveway because there's never going to be a sidewalk out there. So you could lower the cost there. But I would just really like to hear good clarification on that 12-inch pipe. Most municipalities out of their water plant don't even run anything bigger than an 8-inch line. So to run that by 5 houses, and it's not gonna, if we have a fire, it's not, you don't need a 12-inch line. Unless everybody's house is burning at the same time. And statistically, that never happens. So that's my main thing, is I would just, because it affects some of these people really harshly. And I'm not completely against it. Like I said, someday that well may fail again. I've had to change the pump before. So if somebody can do that for us, and it was never answered at the last meeting. Why?
Steve, you want to answer that now, or you want to answer it later?
What I'm going to do is I'm going to defer. Brian Powell is the Engineering Services Manager with Green Bay Water Utility.
Okay.
Yeah, I can answer the question on a 12-inch line. Just to clear things up a little bit, the people out there aren't being assessed for a 12-inch line. You're only being assessed for an 8-inch. Anytime we run anything larger than 8, we absorb the cost of that.
Okay.
It's a residential, so all residential areas get assessed for an 8-inch line. The 12-inch is for upsize. You know, we have to do a master plan on our whole system, and we figure out what size lines we need in different parts of the system, and that being on the far reaches of the system, we have a 12-inch that runs up Hillcrest all the way up to Mason Street and beyond. So we needed to continue that 12 to hook into Renaissance. And then in the future, if anything were ever to be run down Haven and beyond, we would need something bigger to accommodate that. So it's meant for future, just not for that block that we're
But
putting
that
water
12-inch line isn't for us. For me and Dick don't need that line. And we don't even need the water, right? The line is.
No, you don't necessarily need the 12, but you would need an 8.
But
So
we
you're
don't
being
need
assessed
any
for
though,
an 8.
really. We don't need any line past our house. Because our water's good, so it's for some other reason. Like I said, we're gonna be assessed for an 8, but it's to just loop the system around, right?
Well, that's one of the benefits, is to tie West Point into Renaissance, because it would improve the overall water system
Right.
out there.
Yeah.
And it's fire protection for everyone along that corridor. And like you said, at some point, the wells unfortunately could and will fail at some point. It may not be tomorrow, unfortunately, for you guys, but maybe it's 5 years, 10 years, whatever it is. But we're taking the opportunity to run water with the street being reconstructed, because if we have to do it at a later date, we're gonna have to rip the street up to put the water in, and it's much more costly at that point.
We didn't get that really at that last meeting. And I was told your value of your property probably will go up being on city water. To me, it doesn't make any difference, but apparently other people feel that way. I'm fine with it. Well, thank you.
Yeah, hopefully that clears up.
Yeah,
a few
Thank you very
It's
much.
still an expensive pipe.
Yeah, it is.
Thank you. Director Grenier, do we have another speaker?
John Remington, 3207 Westway Drive.
Thank you, gentlemen. Jesse's seen this picture right here. And I don't know if that can be passed.
Yeah.
I left that tree off in the distance. That's my house sitting up there. This is halfway between Mason Street and West Point. That picture was taken some time back, I'm guessing in 1965. If you go there right now, Jesse knows what I'm about to say. it's all wetland, cattails, a swamp. The city of Green Bay let them go east of Hillcrest. They hauled in bushel loads of sand, put the subdivision in there, backed all this water up, and made a wetland out of this. That's what it used to be. This was the farmer's house right here, and that was all farmland. Now, I've lived on the corner, I live at 3207 Westway Drive. I've lived there for almost 13 years. Hillcrest to West Point is the main thoroughfare. They've counted at the NWTC, they're averaging 700 to 800 cars a day traveling that road. We have construction equipment. Lowboys, I got a picture on my phone right here. The gentleman building a brand new house right straight across the street from me with a 100,000-pound backhoe to dig his basement. Parked right in front of my driveway and unloaded it right there in the street. This is almost an everyday thing. There's 4 new homes, I got the addresses here on West Point. All that equipment went to those homes, the backhoes, bucket loaders. Last summer, sandstone, they continued that south, and they got that all cleared out and putting that new subdivision in. Hillcrest, the main thoroughfare, hauling dirt out, hauling rock in for the sewer line and everything else. And all the equipment, every new house that gets built. And the construction companies, with the water backed up here, and the weight of the, up on the corner of Haven Court, or Haven Place, and Hillcrest, both sides of the road, in 2015-16, I'd estimate 1,000 dump truck loads of dirt went up there and filled both sides of that road. 1,000. Car traffic did not destroy this road. Since I've been there, the years I've been there, we have 2 men in the truck, I call them, in maintenance pickup number 174. That's all they do, all summer, is ride our neighborhood, 2 spade shovels and wheelbarrow full of asphalt, patch holes. In 12 years, I'm estimating $50,000 apiece, each man. That's $1,200,000 we've paid these 2 guys to patch potholes. You're saying this is gonna cost $770,000. We could almost did this road twice in the last 12 years, what we've paid these 2 guys in wages to patch potholes. The traffic we have on that road, and the other people that brought it up, you might just, well, forget the yellow lines, speed limits, everything else. It's a racetrack. People use that going to work, they avoid Packer Land and Mason, and it's their main thoroughfare. They avoid 41. You will not believe the traffic we have on this road. The construction companies, the city's left them ruin this road, and now you want 6, 7 of us that live on Hillcrest to pay this, to put this new road back in here? And from what I can see, since they blacktopped it in the mid-60s, nothing's been done to the street since, except 2 men in the truck patching potholes. The water problem with the ditch, that was brought up. I live on the corner of Westway and Hillcrest. My ditch is full of water. It goes down across at the stop sign, heads for Mason Street. It can't get down there. The ditch is so full of silt, the water cannot get out of there. Tony with the street maintenance, I've called him, I've had him out there. I call him every year. I've walked him down that ditch. He will not come out there and dig that ditch out to get rid of that water. There's a 3-foot culvert down across Hillcrest where that water's supposed to go through that culvert and get out of there. They will not clear it out and get the water out of there. You wonder why the road's like it is? The construction equipment and the street sitting on top of a lake. I don't agree with us having to pay to put the street back in after the city left everybody ruin the street. And if they redo the street, we've got 700, 800 cars a day traveling it now, I'll say we'll double that. There's only 7 of us there. We're not running 700, 800 trips a day back and forth, 7 of us that live there. That tells you how much traffic's on this street. So that's pretty much all I have to say. The city's left the construction companies and everybody ruin the street. And they left the street go completely to what it is today.
All right, thank you,
Okay?
sir.
Thank you, gentlemen.
Yep. Director Grenier.
Thank you, Tom.
Lisa Saban Wilson, 1248 Hillcrest Drive.
Hi, good evening. Thanks for listening to everybody tonight. I don't want to repeat what all of our people here had said, but I want to say that I agree with them. I'm against the reconstruction project. I want to emphasize that I'm very interested to find out where the wheel tax is going to go for this area. I understand that the wheel tax vote was delayed until after the spring elections to allow newly elected officials to confer with their constituents to find out where their feelings are. I would really hate to pay for this project and then have to pay wheel tax after the fact. So I would really like to see this project deferred, at least until decisions are made by the city council on the wheel tax. I also agree with Mr. Buckley about the water problem on Hillcrest Drive. I think there needs to be a plan for the water. It's all wetlands out there. You've heard it all from everybody who lives there. Our property, I live on 1248 Hillcrest. My husband and I own 9.5 acres out there. 90% of it is wetlands. We can't develop on it, nor do we want to. We would like to keep it natural. And that includes all the property along this road that you want to resurface. We can't develop that property at all. It's all water. I feel that the assessment itself is very high. I'm concerned for the retired individuals who live in our neighborhood. These people are on fixed income. You heard from Pat. I can't imagine what she is going to do when it comes time to pay the bill. And her bill isn't even as bad as ours. My bill is $42,625. I said that wrong, but you get it. $42,625. As all responsible adults in this building, when you buy a house, when you pay for a car, you plan for it. You save your money, you plan for it. You don't buy extravagances, and you put your money away to plan for big purchases. $42,000 is a big purchase. My husband and I purchased this house a year and a half ago. We scoured the Green Bay, Wisconsin.gov website for information about the area. We moved up from Milwaukee. And we were looking on that website, and we spent hours on that website looking at things like permits. How high can our fences be? Do our dogs need to be licensed? All those questions you want asked when you move into a new community. The information on the website was false in regards to this type of project. Until 4 o'clock today, the Green Bay website said that you had to notify residents 3 years in advance so that they could plan for related assessments in regards to projects like this. Planning is important. $42,000 is not something that I can just dig into my pocket and give to you for a road that I didn't know anything about when we bought. I can tell you 100% confidence, if we knew that this was going to be an assessment, we would not have bought this house in Green Bay. We would have purchased elsewhere. As it is, our property taxes are already $7,000 there. So this is going to levy, an additional, I don't know how many thousands of dollars a year at 4.75 interest. A loan we don't want. A loan nobody in this neighborhood wants. Today, the website was updated because I got in touch with Green Bay and said, your brand new shiny website is outdated. The one that you guys just launched paid $125,000 with the stadium tax from the public. But that's public information, and it's public information we use to move into this community, which we wouldn't have done. Aside from that, I do think my biggest problem is the high assessment, the retired individuals, and how people are going to afford this. The notice that was given to people, like I said, a year and a half we've been here. I'm telling this story to people that I know, and they might be looking at me and saying, well, welcome to Green Bay, that's just life here. It's not like that when you were living down in Milwaukee, but this is Green Bay. Have fun. We didn't get notice. Of course, we've only lived here for a year and a half, so I don't know if 3 years was given or if any notice was given. But for us, coming up with $42,000 by the end of this summer, it's a lot and it's too much. Thank you.
All right, thank you. Director Grenier?
Clarification on that 3-year notice that the last person was just talking about, that goes back to the days when we had the postcard survey.
Right.
So it was outdated information. We appreciate being notified that that outdated information was out there. But it was not a mandatory or an obligatory 3-year notice. What she's referring to is back when we had the postcard surveys, we sent the postcards out 3 years ahead of a potential project. So that's the outdated information.
Excuse me,
All right.
just one moment. Your website even stated that it was a good idea to notify residents so that they could plan for these assessments.
Ma'am, I'm not disputing that.
Okay, we're here, 1 second.
I'm providing
We're here for a public hearing, let's stick with the public hearing part.
going off on a tangent about the computer, we'll deal with that later. Okay? Thank you. Director Grenier, next.
Ryan Dempsey, 1601 Hillcrest.
Yeah, I'm pretty much with her. I'm not going to reiterate everything that the guys said. But I am against not against fixing the road. I'm not against the project in itself, but the way that this was drafted it's unreasonable. I just think that there's 10 ways to skin a cat, and for you guys to financially cripple, 80-year-old men and women that are trying to retire, people trying to raise a family. I don't have kids, I don't have a wife, so I'm not saying I can afford it, but when I got it in the mail, I looked at it a second time, and I thought it was a joke at first. I mean, myself, I'm on city water, I'm on city sewer, I capped my well, I just purchased a lot behind me to secure my water and sewer. So I got about $40,000 in the last 2 years just to secure my property. And then I get a bill for the other side of my house for $25,000. I mean, it's just, I don't know, it seems like it's out of a bad nightmare. And like I said, when it comes to, I guess, helping the community grow, like he said, he's gonna, I don't know the exact words, but the water's gonna, it's gonna complete the loop. There's a 12-inch line. I'm all for expanding the community, but when you're gonna expand a community for the greater good, have the community pay for it, I guess. To put that on the backs of just a few people, I think is irresponsible from everybody's, I'm not pointing fingers, but I just feel like you guys could chop this up, whether you bury it in a tax, the wheel tax, raise the water bill by 0.0001 to feed, if you guys need water that bad to come through, I just don't think it's fair or humane to put that on the backs of the people in this room. Yeah, the roads, I guess they've said it, 800 cars a day. If somebody's not gonna compare it to 41, but the people that live on Highway 41 don't pay for it. I mean, if it's gonna be used as a through street and it's only gonna get worse, make the community pitch in somewhat. So I just ask, you guys are here to protect people. Your constituents, it's their job. Just sharpen your pencil. Just take another look at it. I think you can come up with some common ground, or just fix the gigantic life-changing number. I don't think it's, I think it's fair, and I'm not pointing fingers at anybody, but I think it can be fixed, and, the project can go on. It just, take another look at it is all I'm asking. So.
Thank you. Director Grenier.
Michael Rowe, 3345 Haven Place.
Yeah, my concerns have already, I don't have anything to add to this.
Thank you. Director Grenier.
Denise Service, 3266 Haven Place.
Hi, and thanks for taking the time. So, some of my concerns are, what's been brought up too, but I guess I really want you to hear them again, so I want you to think about them again. Okay? Jesse, I tried to get a hold of you, but I don't know if the number was wrong, but I couldn't leave a message.
My voicemail almost full.
Oh.
From many of you, in fact.
Okay, because I just really want you to know that I'm really against this. So, anyway, I guess this, and what really bugs me too about this thing is this, the wheel tax thing too. You heard, people talked about, people that use this road and all these people coming in and using this road, and it certainly isn't the residents by a far cry only. So if there's gonna be a wheel tax, this would be probably a really good project to look at that at, because we are kind of a different animal there. Okay, I don't live in no big fancy house, okay? I got a house that was built in like 1962. There's nothing fancy about it. I always say, I live west of the rich people, they got big houses, I got big trees, that's what I like, So, but it's not like we're buried in money here trying to pay these big things. I pay almost $6,000 a year for taxes, and now we have to pay it again. If I was living on Elmore Street and had a little frontage, a little thing where I used to live, maybe it wouldn't seem so horrible. But when you're talking about, the kind of money people are talking about, to have, and I agree, to have hooking up to people with wells, our water's good. Let's deal with this if the water's not good. You know what I mean? We've been there for how many years? Our water is good, and Hillcrest water is good. So finishing a loop, okay, if you wanna finish a loop, but don't make the poor people that got good wells that have already paid for them, pay for finishing some loop that doesn't even affect anybody. So, that's a big thing. And when I say we're a different animal, an example of that is so we're rural residential, right? I'm talking Haven Place, Hillcrest, I don't know if you're the same rural residential or not. But here's what I do know is that the city put in something saying that in order to sell a lot and to build on a lot there, now that you have to have 10 acres. Okay, so now you have somebody, my neighbor right next door, has got frontage where he could split that up and develop it into 2 separate lots, 3 separate lots, whatever. I mean, he's got 12, 13 acres altogether there. So the city says, no, you can't do that because you have to have 10 acres. So now you're in a situation where you got a guy that's going to be paying, I don't know, $14,000 to resurface, a road where, because yeah, he's got big frontage, but he can't even do anything with that frontage. Because the city says, no, if you don't have 10 acres, you can't divide this up, you can't do anything. So he's got to pay $14,000 for frontage that's kind of his, but yet he can't do anything with to help cover the cost of this stuff. So it's kind of crazy. I mean, I guess I just want you to think about the fact of, this just isn't like a normal city neighborhood, okay? We knew that when we came in there, but, like this poor gal who comes in and doesn't know that, a year and a half later, she's gonna slap with $42,000. I mean, it's over the top. It's just kind of crazy. So I'd say, let's look at that will tax and see what we're gonna do about it. And I don't know about this whole well thing, to make the people who already paid for wells pay for water that they don't even need. I don't know, that seems kind of crazy to me. So, let's see. And it is a heavy burden, I mean, it's a heavy burden for everybody. I mean, people are trying to budget and figure out what they're doing, and my heart just breaks for you and people in this room that can't afford this. So I guess I just would really ask you to think about this. You know what? Yeah, there's potholes and all that, but look at the bright side. Maybe it slows the traffic down a little bit, because I got to tell you, Haven Place is like a racetrack. It's like the Indy 500. I'm afraid to even have my kid go out and get the mail because some wacko's gonna run them over because they're driving like a crazy person. So, I don't know, I say keep the potholes and.
Okay, the last one that we have is Craig Gazella, who is talking about the Erie Road
Should have went
project.
first, huh? I'm lightening it all up for everybody. Craig Gazelle, I live on Folkestone, but I have concerns on 21-197 parcel on Erie. Regarding the dollars per foot, you have it listed as 65. Is that correct? That's how much is allocated, $65 per foot for the water?
On water? I'm gonna have to defer to Brian.
Okay. Now, what about the opposite side of the street? Do they split that with me?
Nope, they have the same fee on the opposite side.
So then it's not $65 a foot? It's $130 a foot?
If you own both sides of the street.
Okay, so I'm assessed for half of it, basically.
Yeah, whatever your frontage is.
Okay.
If you own along that stretch.
Okay, that answers that. And then also on the footage amount, you have listed from Friars. On my sanitary assessment, it's 84 feet, and on my water, it's 134.
Where the existing sanitary is versus where the existing water is. If the existing sanitary comes further down along your property than what the water does, we only have to complete that leg of the sanitary, we may have to do more water.
Okay, so obviously the water's not as far as Friars then?
I would have to guess that just based on what you're saying, that the two pipes, the ends of the pipes aren't at the exact same spot.
Okay.
One pipe is further north than the other.
Okay, okay. And then also, as far as the reasoning that we're doing this, last time was stated that there was a developer which came public, it was Nature's Way.
Yes.
Did they get any incentives to stay in Green Bay?
That you would have to ask the council.
Anybody want to answer that?
What's the
Did
question?
Nature's Way get any incentives to stay in Green Bay?
Okay, Nature's Way, help me out, Steve.
I believe that was a TIF project out in TIF 20.
Oh, the company out there?
Yeah, the one that.
Well, I would imagine they got some assistance.
Okay, but.
Pretty much everybody
the people
does.
don't get assistance, it's just the company got the assistance.
Well,
So
Well,
now
I
we gotta
guess-
pay for them to
just
do
one
that.
second,
No,
Steve,
no,
can you
I-
explain how these assessments work?
Yes.
I mean, you're not, like the total bill and what the residents pay?
All the property out there that's being, I can't speak to water utility. Okay, that's why we have
Okay,
them come here to speak to theirs, because water utility and public works are separate entities.
okay.
Okay, but I can tell you about public works and how ours are set up. All of the properties, I can't say all, the residential properties, so vacant farmland, anybody but Nature's Way is currently zoned as residential with the possible exception of the property on the corner, southeast corner of Mason and Erie, Bunker
Bunker,
has
yeah.
a couple acres there.
Yeah.
That might be zoned commercial, I don't know.
Okay.
Okay. But the way our ordinance is set up, the assessment ordinance for the city of Green Bay, residential properties are zoned, or are assessed at a fraction of the overall cost. So what we do is we use recent construction cost data to determine what we call an assessment factor. And what that factor is the cost of a brand-new street essentially constructed through a field that's never been built before.
Mhm. Which I got assessed on the other side.
Okay? So that assessment factor, we calculate on an annual basis, and we bring those through the Improvement Service Committee for review. They make a recommendation to the council, and ultimately the council will approve that. Then, for different types of streets, and what you're on is what we refer to as a type B street. So it's an urban, or it's a rural section, and it's being brought up to urban standards. It currently has ditch, and we're bringing it up to curb and gutter, and, okay? I believe, no matter what, residentially zoned properties are treated the same. So we could have a street that's residentially zoned property, whether you're out here on a road that gets 200 vehicles a day, or if you have a residential property on Dousman Street that gets 3,000 vehicles a day, you don't get penalized for living on a busier street, okay? The assessment factor is calculated assuming a certain standard size width, a certain standard of construction, and then again, it's a fraction thereof, and you don't have the assessment ordinance with you. Okay, don't quote me on this. I believe that the assessments levied for a reconstruct are 20% of the assessment factor for residential zone property. I believe that to be the case. I can't remember offhand.
So Steve, is the resident paying 20% of the total bill? Is that what you're saying?
No, again, that AF represents a brand-new street. Now, a reconstruct street may actually be more expensive because a new street assumes there's nothing there. All you do is dig, fill it in, and pave it. You don't have to take the old street off, you don't have to dispose of all the old bedding and base material and that kind of thing.
But Erie's just being, it's not being all redone on that part of it. They were just gonna put the sewer in and then replace or something? Last time they talked about that for the guy that was talking about across the street. I don't know what his name was, but, because I didn't get assessed for the street.
You didn't?
No.
Okay, then you're only being assessed for water?
And sanitation.
And sanitary? Okay, so then what we're doing is we're not having to take the entire street out to get those in. We're able to get it in, and then the rest of the street is not in need of repair, so we're patching the trench in. We're able
Okay.
just to get in the trench.
And then what about the water problem, the groundwater? Gentleman across the street has his yard full of water, you were gonna say something about that, look into that, did anything get looked into?
Anything that's dealing with the codes of which I believe we're looking into.
Oh, okay,
And DPW is looking at the operations division.
okay. But nothing's been said.
I haven't
that you
heard
know
if there's a resolution yet.
Well, if we were talking about something that had been 2 weeks ago,
Yeah,
last year?
correct.
Okay. For us to go, I'm not trying to make light
Yeah,
of the situation.
yeah.
For us to try to do any inspection of ditches and culverts over the last 2 weeks
Okay.
wasn't gonna happen with 2 feet of snow falling down.
Probably more water there now.
Well, the
Easier,
snowbanks
but-
actually were stacked up, we can't see the ditches.
Okay. And then my only final thing is that this will be deferred also in our notes
This is,
for us.
for the TIF. This, because the TIF is contributing the additional money, yes.
No, until that property's sold.
Right, but that's because
That's all
of-
part of the
That's all part of
contract.
the tax increment financing district out there.
Well, yeah, but it's part of when we sold you the property, that contract has it stated, and
You're,
now you're with.
you're the folks with the the property that.
Yeah, just so
we
it's
acquired
noted that
at
this
the
one will
county,
be-
yeah, during the county road project.
Correct,
Got
deferred
it.
also, okay.
Okay.
That's it, thank you.
All right,
Nope,
thank
nope,
you.
nope, that's-
Steve, anybody else?
No more people,
All right, just one
Okay,
second.
well-
Steve, anybody else?
we don't have any more appearance sheets.
Okay. I will
So while-
recognize,
while-
if you want to
while
hand
we
out
need-
some more.
We need to have the appearance
Okay,
sheets filled
go
out
ahead.
with the new. I already have one in. Okay. And then I also have a,
Mr. Truckee, you want to
I also
go up to
have
the
a letter.
podium? You got a letter, okay.
My understanding from what you just said, talking about Erie Street, is it costs more to resurface a road than it does to put a new one in, because the new one, you just put fill and put the road over it.
that's not what I said. I said there are different costs to build
Okay.
a brand-new street as opposed to reconstruct the street.
Our street is not blacktop even, it's oil mat. It's been that way forever. Just oil and pea gravel. All you're gonna do is grind it up and put new blacktop over it. Springs will stay there and the whole works. My second question is, you talk about this surface water runoff. We've been paying it for numerous years right now to the city. What is that used for? I was told at one time it was for street work, runoff work and so forth. All our runoff water goes west to the Duck Creek River. The city don't do anything with it. What is that money used for with the city? It's got to be quite a large sum. If you can explain that to me, please.
Steve, can you explain that for Mr. Truckee?
The stormwater management fees that are collected by the city of Green Bay are used to operate the storm sewer utility for the city of Green Bay. That includes all of the storm sewers throughout the city, all of the stormwater management devices across the city. So
We have none. We have none. My water all goes to the Duck Creek River through Hobart. I've been paying it for a number of years. I believe I pay over $100 a year for nothing, and I've been doing it at least 7 years. And the city does nothing for me with water runoff.
Okay,
So
point well
explain
taken,
that.
Mr. Truckee.
Pardon?
Thank you. Point well taken.
Thank you.
Thank you.
we
Is there
have
another one, please?
Scott Tremmel,
Scott Tremmel.
3394 Haven Place.
I was kind of waiting, this issue hadn't been brought up yet. On the original plans, you had marked several driveways on Haven Place because of the widths. And even though we're rural residential, you want to hold us to city standards on driveway widths, which is 17 feet. Most of our houses are 500 feet plus off of the road, which makes us inaccessible by emergency vehicle. So you're taking away emergency access to our homes. Doesn't make any sense. Driveways are there if you're gonna do the repave. You should put back what's there. I think Roger just said pay $75 for his. I'm not going to.
My house has been in since the 60s.
Mr. Truckee, Mr. Truckee, if you want to speak again, I'll recognize you.
Okay, thank you.
But Mr. Tremmel, you have the floor.
So I think you need to address it, because I don't think it's been clearly brought up to most of the residents. Your driveway's more than 17 feet wide, John. Dale's probably is. I mean, most of ours are. And again, you're trying to treat us like you would somebody down in Jackson Street here, and we're not, we're rural residential. It's completely.
All right, thank you. Mr. Truckee, you have a comment?
Yes. my
Please
house
stick
has
with
been
the
in-
public hearing on the asphalt and the water services.
It ties into this because It was in the letter.
Make your argument then, please.
I came down to the city, I was told to come down and fill out a report for my driveway. My house has been in since the 60s, and it's over the limits. So I filled out for a review with a variance. So I'll come
Right,
before
Board
the
of
city
Appeals,
council.
is that what you're talking about, Board of Appeals?
Yes,
Okay.
which will be
Continue.
next month in May, I believe.
Okay,
But it's something that ties into this resurfacing too,
all right,
for the width.
okay, thank you. Is there anybody else, Steve?
Looks like we have one filling one out, so in the meantime, if you want, I can read in the letter that we received.
Yes, we'll entertain the letter, then I'll get back to the audience.
Okay, this is from Dan and J. Dean Truckee, 3292 Haven Place, Alderpersons Improvement and Service Committee. First, J. Dean and I thank you for reading this into the meeting minutes for the proposed resurface in Haven Place. We built our home on Haven Place in 1992. Haven Place was resurfaced at about that time with money other than assessment. We were an unusual neighborhood as every home was required to have 5 acres and 100 feet of frontage. Today, we are required to have 10 acres and 100 feet of frontage. City services such as water and sewer were nowhere in sight then and remain the same today. Our taxes are calculated differently than most due to the acreage then and now. Now forward to 2018, when the city decides to resurface our road. Our neighborhood residents are bound by more rigid restrictions on the use of our property. We cannot sell a piece of our frontage as it takes 10 acres to build on now. We are an unusual neighborhood and assessment are unusually high because of our frontages. The resurface forces a financial burden on our residents, mine near $15,000. I believe the city of Green Bay has some choices here. You can find some other monies to use in an unusual neighborhood like ours. You can wait for the wheel tax as it will lessen our assessment on our residents. You can postpone the rebuild project until our frontages become useful again. We hope tonight you are listening to our residents as we believe you will hear from them. Alderman Brunette will also be speaking on his contact with our residents and believes this project should be postponed also. Sincerely, Dan and J. Dean Truckee. And the last appearance we have is Chris Wilson, 1248 Hillcrest Drive.
So thanks for listening to being a punching bag this evening. You listened to my wife talk about our particular property, and while I don't really relish having to spend an additional $8,000 a year in taxes, so add that up, I'm looking at maybe a $14,000 tax bill. For me, that sucks. For Pat, that's unacceptable even if you reduce the amount of frontage. You look at the fact and used a comparison of Duzman Street, 3,000 vehicles a minute, or sorry, per day. You talk about rural, we have large frontages. We're not even allowed to reduce that. If you want to build, you need 10 acres. We have, I think my wife said 9.5, I think we have closer actually to 8. But that frontage is useless. I have red flags all the way down saying wetlands. Why did that go in? It was so that nobody could deal with it. Water management, because it's wetlands. That's what they classified it as. So, got maybe 1,200 feet of frontage, 600 on Hillcrest. Useless to me, can't do anything with it. The comparison to Duzman and the amount of traffic versus the 800 that we're getting per day is that Duzman doesn't have large houses. They don't have large frontages. We just looked at some places on Sandia. Your average frontage is what, 40 feet, 50 feet? On average, most of us are going to have at least 6 times more frontage. We've got traffic flying down there. If you actually look at Hillcrest, coming off of West Mason, the right side of the road, that all the trucks came in carrying fill, that's the side that's crushed. That's the side that's broken up. The outbound side, the left side, heading from Hillcrest to West Mason that the trucks left on, empty, no problems. It's fine. Somebody brought up at the last meeting at NWTC about, well, you know, developers pay for it because they can make some money selling the property. Well, that's great. We're not selling a property. We're not developing, so we don't recoup our money for resurfacing roads. I realize everybody needs to, at some point, look at a road resurface, but again, at what point did you know that you were going to tackle this road? 3 years ago? 2 years ago? Did somebody wake up in March and go, hey, I know what? Let's resurface, let's reconstruct Hillcrest? Your own website, which I realize is not policy, but if it's on a government website, I tend to think of it as, publicly stating a policy of 3 years of notice. Might allow us to save up. And there'll be some people who don't. Sure, you'll send out a postcard survey 3 years in advance, and people will wait to the last minute because that's human nature. But some of us who know we're going to get tagged with a $42,000 bill might have started saving. But of course, then the property wouldn't have gotten sold. Because when it was up for sale for nearly a year before we bought it, a year and a half ago, our title company probably would have noticed that you're about to get a $42,000 assessment. So the cost of that property just went up $42,000, which makes me feel like, I'm not accusing anybody here, it makes me feel like the whole reason that the postcard survey got pulled was so that people get blindsided. People can buy and sell properties and not know that there's a huge bill coming. Again, nobody woke up in March and decided to rebuild a road. So why, if it was 3 years ago, 5 years ago, in a forecast plan somewhere in somebody's spreadsheet, did it not make sense to notify the homeowners on the street? But then once it's out there, it's now public record. And now, good luck trying to sell your home, because you're going to say, well, yeah, my home is $200,000, $150,000, $300,000. But 2 years from now, you better have $42,000. The city, I heard a number, and WTC, I'm not entirely certain if I remember it correctly, gets this money bonded at 2.5%. Then you do us the favor of loaning it to us and making another 2% or 2.25% on top of it. For what? You're not even passing along the savings. You're literally forcing people to take a loan and make money at it at the same time, and not give anybody any chance to save up money so that it's a little bit less. Hell, a year and a half ago, if I'd known this, even if we had decided to take the property, knowing we had $42,000 coming, we might have saved up 10, 12, 16, tried to save, so that we're not stuck with the bill, given 30 days to pay it once the construction's done, or be told crassly at the last meeting, well, you can take out a loan. We're rural residential. We are not inner city Green Bay. We do not have 30 feet frontages, 40 feet frontages. All our properties are going straight back. We have wide frontages that are useless. They're beautiful to look at. I love it like that. I love the fact that nobody can build on that property. But my property is, conservatively 60 to 70% wetlands. I'm basically running a mosquito farm. And now I'm going to spend $42,000 for the privilege of having a mosquito farm. Thank you for listening.
Thank you. Steve, is there another?
No, but I will make a point of clarification relative to the payment policy. As we talked about at the last public hearing, nobody is required to finance over 5 years with the city. Any individual property owner is free to pursue whatever financing option they desire. The city offers that ability if a property owner so desires to utilize it. The difference between the interest rate that we're charged and the interest rate the property owners are charged, at the beginning of the year, the finance department contacts bond counsel and gets the best approximation of what the bond rates are going to be for that year. City of Green Bay adds 2% to the bond rate for our financing charge. Reason for that is twofold. First and foremost, over the course of the 5 years in the payment plan, finance department will have to maintain those records, keep those records up to date, and take care of sending out the bills. So there's part of that is an administrative charge that helps take care of the paperwork necessary with continuing to send those invoices out. The second and more important reason is when the city takes the bonding out, the bonding has a 20-year bond period. Bonds, unlike loans, cannot be prepaid early. You must fulfill the term of the bond. So you, the city, when we take the bond out, we are on the hook for the full 20 years of interest payment at the prescribed rate. We allow the property owners to pay off that loan over a 5-year period. So paying a 2% premium on the loan over 5 years versus paying the same rate that we pay for 20 years, the city is still subsidizing part of that interest rate. So that's just a clarification on how the interest rates are calculated.
Thank you, Director Kinnear. Is there anybody else? Just raise your hand. Anybody? Mr. Remington?
I'm gonna start out by, other people have brought this up about the sidewalk in our driveways. All of us own, like the gentleman before me, footage there that we can't sell. So there's only, like, between West Point and Mason, there's 8 of us living there. We don't need sidewalks. There'll never be a sidewalk there. It's a wetland. What are you gonna do? Fill the wetland, put a sidewalk until you dig another ditch? Let's have the ditch dug out that's there right now. My house, I'm on the corner of Westway and Hillcrest. That just full of water year round. We have a hard thunderstorm. It fills at the stop sign and runs across the road. That ditch needs to be dug out. We don't need curb gutter because the water runs off the roof fine. Does anybody here know our shoulders ever being washed out from a thunderstorm? No, it does no damage to our shoulders. But it runs downhill to my house, fills up, and there it sits. It can't get out of there. We need to get the ditch dug out and get the water out of there. We don't need curbs and gutters, and we don't need sidewalks. And let's put this on hold and see if a wheel tax or something can't come through and let the people that are driving this road, my neighbor Wally Donna, talking with them, they use from their house, Mason Street, 2 and 3 times a week to go get the groceries. We're not damaging the street with our cars. Like I said earlier, the construction companies and everybody have destroyed it, and now you want us to pay the high dollars to put it back in. Thank you for listening.
Thank you, Mr. Remington. Anybody else? If not, then we're gonna have a discussion through the committee and make a decision.
I said one quick thing.
Just
Sorry.
once, Mr. Lincoln. Ma'am, you had your,
Where is this approved parking?
pardon?
Where is this approved parking supposed to be?
Help me out.
During this construction?
Approved parking.
Yeah, where are we gonna park?
If Hillcrest blocks your driveway,
Oh, I understand.
and personally, my driveway is 800 feet long. So unless you want me parking a half a mile away, trudging through and up,
Understandable.
that ain't gonna work.
Where am I parking?
Steve, where would they be parking in the street? What's it
Any
more
individual
likely?
location I can't speak to, the intent would be that the construction manager and construction engineer would work with residents on suitable parking.
Okay. All right. Mr. Lincoln?
My only concern, I just thought I'd mention, is my portion of the bill, just so you know, I'm in on this too. This isn't free for me, it's $34,000 roughly, because I don't know all the final costs. So substantial amount of money, I don't care who you are. Howard Hughes would think 34,000, he can go look after it. But what's really, I asked this at the last meeting too, well, the initial cost of $14,900 whatever was 5 years. Then they tacked another almost $15,000 on that. So you can't go another 5 years to any of us that want to pay it up, because you're not going to get a loan from a company for pipes and stuff. You can't go unless you remortgage your house, which a lot of people don't want to do. You can't go and get a loan because that's not collateral. You can't go anywhere you want. You can't just go to credit union, I got pipes going through I got water pipes going through. You just can't borrow that kind of money on, what do you put up for collateral? You know what I mean? Like you said, lending is, you can lend anywhere, yeah, we understand it, but what's your collateral?
Sir, I didn't say, I said property owners have
They have a
other
choice.
options.
They do have options, and I think lending through the city is okay. My dad did it, you know, I lived in the city my whole life. But to squeeze all that money down into 5 years, you know, if you can't table this, if you're determined to go through with all this against the objection to everybody in this room, I don't see why you couldn't go out longer. Your bond is for 20 years, why do you gotta cut it down to 5?
Because that's a policy that was adopted.
Well, I mean,
by
it's
the
a
council.
policy, yeah. You know, I mean, how long was that adapted? My dad got longer than that, I know other people have too. It might have just changed. How long has that been in effect, you know?
5-year payment program has been in existence at least the 10 years that I've worked here.
Yeah. But, you know, in this case, like $34,000 is a lot of money.
Okay. Mr. Wilson, I'll recognize you. Do you have anything else different to offer?
Just a follow-on question.
Okay.
Are there options for longer than 5 years? Because
Steve?
you tack the amount, I believe, onto our property tax bill, which makes it, you know, our house is collateral.
There are provisions under city ordinance for deferrals and for payment plan. I believe the deferral, you have to have a demonstration of indigence.
Okay. But what about an extended payment plan?
That I would have to take a look at. I believe there was a 10-year payment plan that was instituted for commercial properties, because commercial assessments are significantly higher than residential assessments on a per front foot basis. But I would have to investigate to see if there's anything other than the 5-year payment plan or net 30 for a residential property.
Yeah, because depending on the size of the commercial, unless, I'm assuming the commercial is double residential, but I've got a smaller footprint to the road because I'm a bar, then their actual assessment could be less than a rural residential property where half of the acreage is literally frontage. And there, I know there's an Oneida property that goes from West Mason on the left side of Hillcrest, and they've got a very small, thin property where all their frontage is, you know, it looks like it's about 40 feet deep, but they've got 200, 300 feet of actual road frontage, which is a smaller property than half the houses on Sandia, but they're getting heavily penalized just because they have a very small, thin spit.
Okay.
Anyway, I'm done.
Thank you, Mr. Wilson. Yes, ma'am.
I guess I would just ask you when you're making your decisions, for y'all to think about if you were having to pay $42,000, what your decision might be.
Sounds good. Thank you. All right, we're gonna bring it up to the committee. We're gonna have our discussion, make a decision. So this is the area that Mr. Burnett represents, so I'm gonna allow Mr. Burnett to start off the discussion.
Sure, thank you.
If that's fair enough for you,
Yes,
Jesse?
Thank you, Chairman. Well, you've heard the constituents, the people most affected by what has been proposed. Having worked through that area, knocking on doors as much as I was able to, I was struck very much by the unique feel of that neighborhood as compared to Green Bay. Many of the other council members probably aren't aware of just how far west the city extends. So it is really rural residential, and somewhere along the way, I believe, nothing to substantiate the opinion that I hold, but based on my conversations with many of the constituents who live out there and homeowners, that the city, might not have planned property for the water retention, runoff, development that was proposed out there before my time on the council, my first time through. We hope to catch these things as they come up, but from time to time, things might have been approved that we didn't understand the long-term effects. So there's really no need for me to reiterate what everyone has so finely stated here tonight, but as the committee makes a decision tonight, I want to make sure I get clarity from our Public Works Director what the options are, because from what I understand, if it's a flat denial that we just turn it down completely, the project, then what are the effects that would have on the street?
Well, really,
go ahead.
You really only have two choices. Either you approve the improvements or you don't. Okay? I know people aren't gonna like this, but this is a policy that predates me by 20 years. If the projects are removed from the program at this time, the the streets will go to the end of the candidate list. So there's a list of projects, streets out there that are in need of repair. This project made it to the top of the list, it came forward for a public hearing. If it gets removed at this time, it goes to the end of the list, so it can work its way through the list again.
Perfect.
Because
Continue,
the
please.
project came forward.
Let 'em talk,
to
please,
the committee
audience.
And was part of a program. The program was adopted by common council and made it to the hearing, and was then subsequently removed by going to the end of the list. That's a clear signal that the project is not wanted. The project, that road will be allowed to deteriorate until it is in need of full reconstruct, which we're already there on Hillcrest. But no additional maintenance will be performed on that street until such time that it comes to the top of the list again. So that means no potholes will be patched, no cracks will be filled. That work is not completed.
No regular maintenance, so
No
that the
routine
road is
maintenance on the
drivable.
street, correct.
I
It'll
see a
continue to
question.
be plowed, but that's it.
Yeah, I asked a question though, I know those are the two options, but from a technical standpoint, if we were to table this discussion, would that allow, I don't think it's fair to the people who live on that street, especially because many of the people who don't live on that street utilize it. I don't want to have them pay for a road that, perfect case study for the reasons a wheel tax might be preferable to most. But I just don't want that road to further deteriorate for the folks who drive on it. If we table this, could we basically have Public Works maintain the road like they would any other road?
I'm gonna have to check. I'm gonna have to run down the law department to see if somebody's down there. This is a public hearing. I don't think.
They're not maintaining it now.
Excuse me, sir.
Okay.
Excuse me, we're discussing it right now. If you
Yeah,
have,
they said
sir,
They would
if,
stop maintaining it, but they're
sir,
not maintaining it.
sir, Mr. Brown,
He's got to be correct in
Mr.
what
Brown,
he says.
we're gonna allow him to speak, just like I did everybody else. We're gonna speak here, and then anybody has any questions, I will recognize you. Just please, I know this is very emotional, I know it's full of passion, but please be patient. Please, thank you. Director Grenier?
Because we're dealing with a public hearing with the ordering of improvements and levying of assessments, I don't think hold is an option available to
Or
us.
table.
Or table. I think we have to either vote, order the improvements made or deny them. Again, I'll have to confer with the law department. That's not a question I was prepared for tonight.
Alderman Burnett, if we table this, we have 1 week for clarification before it comes to city council. All it is a recommendation anyway, Steve. And then we'll get it clarified and we'll have the final decision. If we do decide that and you have a discrepancy about it, we'll have it clarified by our city attorney,
Okay.
if that happens.
Sure, I'll yield the
Jesse
floor.
Burnett?
I'll yield the floor.
You want to yield the floor?
Mhm.
Okay, Mr. Truckee.
My question would be, is there an option just to do an oil mat like it's been done for the last 40 years? The city's always done that, is just grind it up, pour oil on it, pea gravel, roll it, and it's done.
No.
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 Okay. Mr. Brown, you had your,
Well, my thing was, that road has not been maintained, because say if you got 50 potholes and they go and fix 2, that's not maintaining. If they came out and fixed all 50 potholes every time there were, that would be maintenance. But that hasn't happened in 10 years. Not even every other one is fixed. Scott knows that, everybody knows
All
that.
right.
So the road, even if you completely deny it tonight, it has not been maintained at all.
okay.
And I think it could have been maintained better. I think it's still deteriorating, but they did a really, I wouldn't have let it get to that. I would have stayed on it, maintained it until you redo it. But drive down there tonight, it's horrible. You've got to, you're like this.
All right.
So that's not maintained.
Okay.
In the last snowstorm didn't do it.
Okay. Mr. Wilson, then Remington.
My question was, if we go to the bottom of the list for Hillcrest, what does that mean? 10 years, 20 years, 50 years, 100 years, 5 years?
Right now, reconstructs are probably about 15 years out.
That's it.
Okay, Mr. Remington, then Brown.
Going back to what he said, from West Point to Mason Street, Hillcrest, all the years that I've been there, I have to see that pickup coming with that blacktop to patch a hole if it's in front of my driveway, and you have to stop them and ask them if they can put some asphalt in there. Because they hit the same hole like, every day, day after day. They must have to do a wheel line on that pickup once a week. I often wondered if that's from West Point to Mason, if that street is even on a city map. Because when we get snow,
Steve, is
we
that
don't
on a
get
city
plowed,
map?
we don't get salted, that stop sign.
Mr.
at Mason
Remington,
Street,
it's on the city map.
It's a wonder that, doesn't people kill the winter there? It's never salted or sanded, it's just an ice rink all winter at the stop sign at Mason.
Okay.
'Cause they don't plow the street, they don't do nothing.
Okay. Mr. Brown?
But within the last year, though, I did contact the Department of Public Works to ask if they were gonna repair Hillcrest, and they said it wasn't on, it didn't make any list at that time, and I had an email back, I should dig that up, but we were on no list. I go, well, what?
How
what
long ago?
determines?
How
It
long
was like
ago?
within the last year, so I said.
Last
"What-
year, okay.
What determines when you do it?" And they go, well, we don't really have a way. I said, well, the road's so bumpy, don't you have a bumpometer in your car that you drive down? Because I drove all the way to Montana and back, and it was the worst road.
If you
So I
could
was
find that,
questioning
if you could find that email, it'd be beneficial to
I
us.
will, I'll try to get it to
Okay,
Jesse,
thank
but
you. Anybody else? Yes, ma'am.
I'd like to say, you said there were two choices, correct? Do it or not do it?
Yes.
Yes. I think there's a third choice, just do the road. Period. No curb and gutter, no fixing these water things that don't need to be fixed. There's a third choice, and that's the road.
Steve, is that a possibility?
At this point, it's not.
Okay.
In other words, it's deteriorated so much that nothing can be done besides his entire job.
That's what he's
Why
stating.
do you need curb and gutter? What's the purpose of curb and gutter?
To prevent future deterioration of a brand-new street that we are building.
Okay. Ma'am, and then Mr. Dempsey.
I guess I don't understand, I feel like it's kind of like, take your ball and bat or go home, because it's like, okay, if we turn it down, we don't even like fill a pothole in the street anymore? I mean, I'm like, what? What is this?
Well, if, I was trying to explain that we're gonna get clarification out of our city attorney, okay?
Okay, because that's kind of bizarre. I
Well,
mean, so we're
we're gonna
say
get
if
that
it gets
clarified
turned
for
down,
next
we go-
week.
We go for 15 years and we don't fix a dang thing on the street? I mean, that's just insanity.
We're gonna get that clarified, okay?
I would hope so.
All right, Mr. Dempsey, then Truckee.
I guess I'm just gonna say that if there really is only two options tonight, I just feel it's a no-brainer. And it's 100% unanimous, nobody wants it, nobody needs it. However, it's unfair for us to ask for our cake and eat it too. We can't, I mean, we're all here to tell you no. And if you can't do anything about that, we're happy with no. And I think we'll deal with potholes at a later date, but for now, we're here for one thing.
Right.
No.
I understand, Mr. Dempsey. Mr. Truckee, then Remington.
I don't know how everybody else feels, but a pure gravel road would be much better than we have right now. All it would take to fix it is a grader.
That's not in the recipe here, Mr. Truckee.
You can't have gravel roads in the city?
Not with this project, according to our director. It's a no. Okay? It's just the way it
Doesn't the
is.
city council determine that?
It's basically in our ordinance, what I understand, Steve.
I believe that's the case, yes.
So, no, we can't override a law. Sorry. Mr. Remington.
To stop maintaining the street, don't we pay taxes to have our street maintained?
We're gonna get that clarified.
Okay,
Okay?
yeah.
We should have that all clarified by next week. That's at City Council next Tuesday, 7 o'clock in room 207. I advise you to be there, please. Yes, ma'am.
I just had a question about the whole, if they're not gonna come through and do potholes anymore, any maintenance on our road, what do we pay taxes for?
Well, that was a question from Mr. Remington. We're gonna get that clarified,
Oh, okay.
okay? So I advise you to be there next Tuesday, which would be the 30th, May 1st?
May 1st.
May 1st, 7 o'clock, room 207, right next door. Mr. Wilson.
I do have a question. What is Hillcrest classified as in terms of road type? Is it a collector or a mini artery?
Local.
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 So the GIS map that has it as a collector. I mean, I'm assuming it's your map.
I don't know that the GIS map has it as a collector. If our data here is indicating that it's local, this should match what's in the GIS.
Okay, so if it's classed as a collector, does the assessment go down?
No.
Okay, so how many cars a day does it take to become a mini artery?
Offhand, I don't know. That would be in the facilities development manual or in our engineering services manual.
Okay. Do you have those handy? Are they on the website or are they?
No, they are not.
Okay, so I email you and get a copy.
I think the best thing to do would be to contact my traffic engineer,
Okay. And what's his name?
Dave Hansen.
Dave Hansen?
Yes,
What's his number, 3098?
yes.
448-3098. Any other questions? Yes, ma'am.
This meeting coming up, is that going to be notified by mail to the people that didn't make it to the meeting?
Everything's on the internet now.
All that, we've gotten written letters on all the other meetings. Is this going to be a written letter like the other ones?
Common council? No.
So the people that couldn't make it here, we either pass it around by mouth or they get missed.
Or their alderman can knock on the doors.
Sit out there. I'll be there all.
I don't know, that's what I would do.
Yeah, but if I may, Chair.
Yeah, go ahead, Jesse.
Well, I think we've got a good representation of the public here who lives
Make
in
a
that
motion.
area. So, make a motion on the topic? Okay, so.
Please.
I will make a motion to table this, table the asphalt pavement from Hillcrest Drive, Renaissance Lane to West Mason Street, and the asphalt resurfacing from Haven Place west of the city limits to Renaissance Lane for consult of the law department on whether or not the roads can be maintained if this is turned down by the
And you would
council.
also want the water main on Haven?
Yeah, same
Or
thing.
Hillcrest?
Yeah, I apologize, I didn't include that. The water main and water services will have to cover area in a separate motion. That gives us more time to consult with the law department. I'd hate to put the folks in, unfair position, not having the road maintained whatsoever while we figure this mess out.
Okay, I guess I misunderstood what you were asking when I said I was going to consult with law. My indication was I would have to consult with law department to find out if table was an appropriate choice at this time.
Okay.
The policy as far as not maintaining the roads, that's
That's
an
a city
established
ordinance.
policy of the department that's existed for 30 years.
Okay, so that's a good clarification. I would like consultation with the law department on if tabling is an acceptable motion.
Okay.
And if not, then at the council meeting, I'll be prepared to make a motion to deny it
Okay.
altogether. Thank you for clarifying.
Okay, is there a second? There's a second by Alderman Worry, you got the floor, then Johnson.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. This is democracy at its finest. I mean, really, the local government, how often, this is great that you can come and look your representative in the eye, unlike the federal and state government. And you spoke pretty loudly to me and to your representative. You have a unique area, incredibly special circumstances. Clearly a feeder street, heavy construction use. You're required to have the 100 feet at least. Somebody has said the assessments were a gigantic, life-changing number. I'm not sure who said it, but clearly that's the case. I mean, it's ridiculous, ruinous dollar amounts for a lot of people. We will be reevaluating how we're doing the streets. We agreed as a council before to wait till after the election so everybody can go door to door and talk to people. I imagine, I don't know, Director Grenier, the wheel tax, is that scheduled to come back this month or next month? Not this month, but May, June?
It's not on the schedule yet.
Okay, so it'd be up to the chairman or someone to ask to put it back on? 'Cause we-
Correct.
Okay, so I imagine we'll want that on sooner than later. There's other streets that are waiting the same thing. As part of that too, I really think we need a 5- and 10-year plan, so city can plan ahead, residents can plan ahead. So I'm really gonna be pushing for that, and maybe we need to look at the policy of no maintenance. Maybe instead of just letting it die a horrible death, we slowly ease it down so we're not also destroying people's cars. But I'm gonna back Alderman Burnett here. I'm fine with, let's wait. I have a feeling the answer we're gonna get, but if people don't want it, I don't want it. So, fine with that.
Okay, Alderman Johnson.
Director Grenier, just a quick question. I know that you said it goes to the bottom of the list. You're looking at 15 years
Could be.
approximately right now.
Offhand, I don't-
Right, I understand you're just ballparking. Would the alder or city council, for that matter, preserve the prerogative to replace that position by bumping it up on the list?
Historically, that hasn't been allowed because through natural progression, this one already made it to the top of the list and was selected to be removed. So as a result, other projects that have been patiently waiting their turn deserve the opportunity to rise to the top of that list.
Okay, so I understand that's not, hasn't been standard practice, but it is possible to do. It would just seem odd to me that we're saying that this road's at the top of the list and the only other option, despite the fact that it's still in need, is to go to the bottom of the list and wait 15 years maybe and have no maintenance. And so I just want to be clear that the council does have at least that option to move it on that list.
The council has never had that kind of input into the development of a program before.
Okay. So I know the motion, at least on the table right now, is to table, but I'm gonna let my remarks steer from that a little bit. And I've personally experienced a $35,000 assessment as well, and I understand, what we're going through. The other thing that I look at though is, if the council were to never take a position on something, because there was pushback, we wouldn't get any roads done, ever. But on the other thing I want to be careful though is that we're not being presumptuous about the future of the wheel tax. That isn't a discussion that's been taken up yet. And I think that's going to be a very important dialogue that this council is faced with, is how are we going to fund roads? And I think the wheel tax is one of those discussions that's come up. But I suspect that there will be probably other discussions that are had around that topic as well. Now that said, I also believe in fairness and equity, and it's my understanding that there were some other road construction projects that were tabled or removed or put to the bottom of that list because the residents showed up, and the residents said that we didn't want this project. And I think, to me, that's what's resonating with me today is I see the need for this project to happen, but I also think that what the people want is equally important, if not more important. And so I'm going to side with Alderman Burnett's motion as well. And I think it's important to point out that, the full city council still needs to take this up, and it's been alluded to. But it's going to be important that you're present for that meeting as well, if you want the balance of the council to understand where you're coming from. Thank you.
Okay, we have a motion on the floor. We have a second. All in favor?
Could I just get Director Grenier to read the motion back, just so I
First motion that I have is a motion by Alderman Burnett, seconded by Alderman Weary, to table the request to order the improvements, to order in the improvements and levy assessments for the following projects: asphalt pavement, Hillcrest Drive, Renaissance Lane to West Mason Street, asphalt resurfacing, Haven Place, west city limits to Renaissance Lane, water main and water services, Hillcrest Drive, West Point Road to Renaissance Lane.
Okay, and there's no need to to clarify with the law department.
Well, that's
what
the
you'll do
motion
by
you're
next-
making. I'm going to go ahead and do that anyway, and if law department tells us that we were in error, then it's going to have to be addressed then.
Absolutely.
All right, thank you, I'm
So,
fine with that.
okay.
Thank you.
Good with that? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Nays? Motion carried. Thank you for participating in our committee
We
level
have a motion
process.
on the final.
Yeah, we still need something for Erie.
Pardon?
We still need something for Erie Road.
All right, need a motion for Erie Road.
Tuesday at 7, council, next Tuesday. Motion to approve.
Motion to approve Erie Road project, second by Burnett. Under discussion, hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Nays, motion carried. This hearing's, Steve, I can just end the hearing, can I? Hearing's completed, this story. All right. Yeah. 242 2206. Did they hand it out to us on a sheet? Give it, got me. 363-583. Call me anytime. I got this with me. Sometime between 2 in the morning. Leave a message. I'll call you next day. Mr. Lewis. Good. You? Good. Real good. Good. I know. I hear everything. I know.